Now the adventures of Superman. Secure in the feeling that all his troubles were over when Herbert Calkins, the Scotland Yard detective who came within an inch of revealing his true identity as Superman, returned to England satisfied that he was wrong, Clark Kent returned to the Daily Planet. There he was excitedly greeted with the startling news that something was happening to Perry White behind the locked door of the editor's office. As we continue now, the usual clatter of the city room is stilled as Kent walks hurriedly toward the worried group of Daily Planet employees gathered in front of White's office. Listen.
Well, what's going on? Maybe we ought to knock down the door.
Excuse me, Johnny. Let me through, please.
Sure.
Lois, what's going on here?
Clark, I don't know.
Sounds like a knockdown, drag-out fight to me.
Yes, I'm afraid the chief is in serious trouble.
It's okay. Relax, all of you. Relax.
Relax. Did you hear that, Clark?
Don't worry. We'll have the door open in a minute. Chief! Chief, it's me, Kent. Let me in.
That won't get you anywhere, Kent.
No, we've been trying that for the past 10 minutes.
Okay, then we'll do it another way. Look out.
Now let me tell you what...
Hiya, Chief.
Why, he broke right in.
Well, Kent, what's the meaning of this?
Why,
Are you all right, Chief?
Oh, of course I'm all right. What's the idea of breaking in my door? Don't you know that a closed door means privacy? How dare you
We
come...
were worried about
we thought you were in trouble.
Well, I am. But that's no reason for this convention in front of my door. Now go on. Back to work, all of you. We've still got a paper to get out.
I like
Okay. Sorry we bothered you.
Come in here.
What?
Well, you just said...
I said to come in here. Something pretty serious is happening, and you may as well get in on it right now.
Now, 1 second, Chief. Before we go into that, there's a little matter of this heavy door to your office.
Well, what about it?
Well, several of the boys tried to force it before, but it wouldn't budge. And then Mr. Kent comes along.
So what? What's so important about that?
What's important?
Now, if you think that makes him a Superman,
For
you're...
heaven's sake, Lois, didn't we just have enough of that with our friend Herbert Calkins?
Well, I was just
Oh,
a
drop
little...
it. Forget it.
Sure.
Stop wasting time. The whole world is practically coming apart in this very office.
Well, what do you
and you
want?
stand there gabbing about a broken door. Now, close it, Kent, if it will close, and sit down.
Yes, all right, sure.
Now, Chief, what do you mean by the world's come... Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't notice this gentleman sitting
You
here.
didn't think the chief was talking to himself, did you?
No, Mr. Smith here is a very unobtrusive man, except when he opens his mouth. Miss Lane, Mr. Kent, meet Mr. Homer S. Smith.
How do you do?
How
The
do you
devil
do?
himself in a blue serge suit.
Why, Chief.
I'm delighted to meet you, Miss Lane, and you, Mr. Kent. And I'll thank you to be more careful of your language, Mr. White.
I didn't ask you to come here. You asked yourself. Now I'm telling you to get out.
Look here, you can't speak to me that way,
Oh,
White.
I can't, eh? Why, you...
Wait a minute,
Chief, that's
Don't you dare lay your hands on me.
No, I won't. I won't dirty my hands on you, you snake. But unless you leave my office at once, I won't be responsible for what happens.
Save your breath, Mr. White. I have no intention of leaving.
No, then I'll...
Chief, control yourself.
Let me go, Kent.
Not until you pull yourself
Let
together.
me go, I say.
Now, wait a
I'm
minute.
surprised at you, Chief. Why, I've never seen you act this way before. What's this all about, Mr. Smith?
Nothing, really. It's simply that I came
You
here...
be quiet. I'll tell them. All right. You can let me go now, Kent. I lost my head for a minute, but I'm all right now.
You sure?
Of course. Sorry I lost my temper, but nothing like this has ever happened to me before.
Like what?
That's what I'd like to know.
Well, listen. This man Smith came in here a few minutes ago saying he'd been sent here by John Grayson, the publisher of the Daily Planet.
I was sent here by Mr. Grayson.
I don't believe...
Now, wait a minute.
I
Chief.
showed you his letter, personally signed by him.
I've known John W. Grayson for almost 25 years. He's not only my employer, but one of my closest friends. He wouldn't embarrass me by sending a flunky in here to give me orders.
What?
I don't understand.
Exactly. And what orders? This fellow has the nerve, the unspeakable gall, to order me to withdraw the planet's support from the World Peace Federation.
Why,
And
I
not only
never-
that, he tells me we've got to print an editorial every day on page 1, no less, attacking the World Peace Federation.
No.
What kind of a joke is this?
It's no joke, Mr. Kent. We're convinced the World Peace Federation is fundamentally wrong in principle.
Listen to him.
Wrong?
How can anything be wrong when its primary purpose is to preserve peace by establishing mutual trust and understanding among all the nations of the world?
Why, the Federation is our only hope for world peace.
Of course it is.
That's where we differ, my friends. Mr. Grayson and I, too, incidentally, believe it's impossible for nations of different languages and customs to understand each other.
It is not if we put our minds and hearts to
And
it.
that's what we've got to do, or sure as shooting there'll be another war. And when that comes, with its new type of atomic weapons, it'll be just too bad for all of us.
Right, Chief.
I don't agree.
Now, wait just a moment, please. This is a free country, and everyone is entitled to his own opinion, but, well, Mr. Smith says he's speaking for Mr. Grayson as well as for himself.
I am.
Baloney. John Grayson feels the same way about the World Peace Federation as I do. He told me so 100 times.
He even said so at our annual banquet last month, Chief, and when he laid the cornerstone for the Unity House Gymnasium just a couple of weeks ago.
That's right.
He may have felt that way then, but he's changed his mind since.
Rubbish.
I don't intend to dispute the matter, Mr. White. You have Mr. Grayson's signed letter giving me full authority to determine editorial policy and all other policies on this newspaper.
I know, but...
May I see that letter, Chief?
It's right here on my desk. Here it is.
Let me see it, will you, Clark?
Yeah, sure. Well, it's on Mr. Grayson's own stationery.
Says this will introduce Mr. Homer S. Smith, who will hereafter act as my personal representative with full authority to determine all policy, editorial and otherwise, on the Daily Planet. Well, good heavens.
Nothing indefinite about that, is there?
Is this Grayson's signature, Chief?
Yes, but I can't believe he ever wrote it.
It can very easily be verified.
Have you called Mr. Grayson about this, Chief?
Well, I called his office, and they told me he's not in. I don't understand it.
That's strange.
It's more than strange, Lois. It's serious. Chief, you and I are going to find Mr. Grayson, wherever he is, and have a little talk with him. Come on. You say you did appoint Homer Smith as your personal representative on the Daily Planet, Mr. Grayson?
That's right, Kent.
With full authority to determine all policy?
Correct.
I can't believe it. You're kidding.
I'm sorry. I had to put someone in over your head, Perry, but, well, I haven't liked the way things have been going on the paper.
You never told me that.
I know, but, well, I didn't see any reason for talking it over. You're rather set in your ways, you know.
No, I am, eh? And so now
Just a minute, Chief.
You stay out of this, Kent. Our circulation is at an all-time high, isn't it, John?
Why,
And we
yes.
got the International Prize for Outstanding and Impartial Reporting of the News for the 5th straight year, didn't we?
Well, I guess we did.
You guess we did. You know blame well we did. And you were so tickled about it, you wanted to give me another raise. Only I made you give it to my staff instead. And that was only 3 months ago. And now, you've got the nerve to tell me you don't like the way things are going.
Well,
Maybe Mr. Grayson means he doesn't like our editorial policy, Chief.
Yes. That's right, Kent.
No, our editorial policy is the same as it's always been. There's been no change, and you approved it, John.
Well, yes, I know I did, but...
Well, now, maybe Mr. Smith is right. Maybe Mr. Grayson has changed his mind about our policy. As, for example, our strong support of the World Peace Federation. How about it, Mr. Grayson?
Yes, I have changed my mind about that.
What? After you've gone on record 100 times as being in favor of it as the only means of preserving peace?
Well, I can change my mind, can't I?
Not about this, you can't.
Now, wait a minute,
You
Chief.
gave me the go-ahead on it, and you can't make me back down now.
Oh, is that so? Well, you get this, Perry. I own the majority of stock in the Planet, and what I say goes. And I say that from here on in, you'll take orders from Homer Smith on all matters of policy. Now, is that clear?
Now, wait a minute.
I'm
Come with me,
sorry,
Chief.
but I'm too busy to discuss this any longer. Good day, gentlemen.
Come on, Chief.
Oh,
please.
no. Now, you listen to me, John
Please,
Grayson.
Chief.
We've been friends for a long time. And if you think you can push me around, you've got another thing coming.
I said I don't care to discuss this anymore, Perry.
I don't care what you said.
Chief,
I-
Chief, come on, will you? I think I
Let go of
understand
my
it.
arm, Kent. Let go. I'm going to tell this turncoat a thing or two.
Come on, I said I've got something to tell you.
I don't want to hear you. I want
Will
to tell
you
this...
come along? You're just wasting your breath. I understand this and you don't.
You understand what?
Come outside and I'll tell you. That's better. Goodbye, Mr. Grayson.
Almost forcibly, Clark Kent leads Perry White from John W. Grayson's library. What is in Kent's mind? We'll return in a moment to find out. So stand by.
You know, gang, nobody wants a gloom box at the breakfast table in the morning. So if you want to show up with a cheerful disposition and a sunny smile, get hip to that sunny breakfast cereal, Kellogg's Pep. Why, just one glimpse of those toasted whole wheat flakes, all golden and crisp, and you're bound to be in a good mood. You feel like eating the super sort of breakfast that gives your day a happy start. You see, Kellogg's Pep is called the Sunshine Cereal. It's chock full of sparkling sunshine flavor, a comeback for more flavor that your appetite can really latch on to. And every flake is crisp and tender and mouth-watering good. Believe me, your first taste of Kellogg's Pep tells you that you're going to get a kick out of every last spoonful in your dish. And that's the way it should be, sure, because it's not good to waste cereal. And nowadays, the cereal grains are being sent to fellows and girls overseas. So keep that in mind when Mom brings Kellogg's Pep home from the grocer's. Don't waste it. If you pour your own Pep, pour it carefully and polish off every bit you pour out. Pass the word along to the rest of your family, too. Always make sure to eat all your Pep. Don't waste it.
Outside the great stone house of John W. Grayson, millionaire publisher of the Metropolis Daily Planet, Editor Perry White is fuming with rage.
Oh, why did you drive me away, Kent? I wanted to give that hypocritical turncoat Grayson a piece of my mind.
Well, it wouldn't do any good, Chief. He's too scared.
Scared? Scared of what?
I don't know. But in all my life, I've never seen a man as scared as Grayson. Didn't you notice his eyes and the way his hands and mouth kept twitching?
No, but... Oh, you're crazy, Kent. You're crazy. John Grayson was never scared of anything.
Well, he's scared now, Chief. Scared half out of his wits. And I'm positive the reason for his fear is tied up with what he did today.
Well, what do you mean?
His change of heart on the World Peace Federation and his appointing Homer Smith to run the Daily Planet. There's something strange going on, Chief. Something strange and evil. And we've got to find out what it is.
I've known John Grayson for 25 years, but I never suspected he was a hypocrite and a dirty turncoat.
I don't think he is, Chief.
What? Didn't you hear him say he's changed his mind about the Federation and wants us to attack it?
He didn't tell us to attack it. Homer Smith did.
Well, he's Grayson's stooge, isn't he?
I'm not so sure about that.
What are you talking about, Kent? Didn't Grayson just tell us that Smith is his personal representative on the Daily Planet and must be obeyed?
Yes, but I don't think it's as simple as that, Chief. I've got a feeling there's something fishy behind Grayson's sudden change of heart about the World Peace Federation. Something he's afraid to tell us.
Oh, you're letting your imagination run away with you, Kent.
No, I'm not. Grayson fears something, and we've got to track down whatever he's afraid of.
We don't have to do any such thing. I know what I'm going to do and what you'll do, too, if you have an ounce of manhood in you.
What?
Well, I'll tell you. We're coming to the planet. I want you to round up Lois and Jim Olson and bring them to my office. I'll show Mr. Grayson where he gets off. Now, look. We've been backing the World Peace Federation because we believe it's the only way to avoid war, right?
You bet.
Now, John Grayson tells us to kick our beliefs and our conscience out the window and attack the Federation. Well, I, for one, won't do it. Now, how about you?
Well, neither will I.
Wait a minute. I want to...
All right. Well, I'm going to write out my resignation right now. And if you, Kent, Lois, and Jim have an ounce of self-respect, you'll do the same.
I certainly will.
Well, so will I. I won't work for a paper that attacks the World Peace Federation. I want to live in a peaceful world.
Bravo, Jim.
Now, just a minute.
You
I
won't
think...
any of you have to worry about new jobs. The Daily Blade's been trying to get me over there for years. Well, I'll take you all along with me.
I know Tony Sloan will come with us, too, Chief.
Yeah, and so will Harry Goldman.
And Bill Burroughs will.
Look, please, listen,
Good.
will you?
We'll take all our key people. Let Grayson and his stooge Homer Smith try to run the planet without us and see how fast they run it into the ground.
It'll serve him right.
That's what I say. Come on, Clark. Let's sit down and write our...
No, wait a minute, please. You're all wrong. That isn't what we want.
What's
Huh?
that, Kent?
What do you mean, Clark?
Look, the Daily Planet's the top paper in Metropolis and one of the best in the country.
That's right.
It's a great influence for justice, tolerance, and good Americanism. We've got to keep it that way.
How can we when Grayson puts a man like Homer Smith in here to run things? We've been backing the Peace Federation for all it's worth. And now Smith tells us to about-face and attack it. That alone will ruin our reputation for honesty.
Of course it will.
Well, now, maybe we won't have to about-face on the Federation.
Oh, but we will.
You heard what Smith said.
Yes, and Grayson backed him up.
I don't believe Mr. Grayson is backing Smith because he wants to, but because he has to.
Huh?
What's that, Clark?
No, Kent's got some wild notion that Grayson's scared stiff of something or somebody.
Oh?
I'm sure he is. And that's the reason for the sudden changes around here. Mr. Grayson's always struck me as being a sincere, progressive American, but now he's afraid of something. If we can find out what it is...
Well, you mean you think somebody's got a hold on him, Mr. Kent?
Could be, Jim.
Oh, poppycock. John Grayson's rich, powerful, and influential. He's not afraid of anything or anybody.
I tell you, you're wrong, Chief. Dead wrong.
You know, the more I think of it, the more I think Clark might be right.
Yeah, me too.
You're all crazy, I tell you. Grayson
Look,
said...
Chief, wait a minute now. You've given a good part of your life to the planet, haven't you?
I certainly have. It was only a small paper when I came to work on it as a reporter.
And now it's one of the great papers of the country. You want to walk out on it.
What do you mean, want to? Do I have to get sentimental and say it breaks my heart to go? The planet's been my life for 20 years. And I've been pretty proud to see it grow up.
That's why you've got to stay, Chief. We've all got to stay and fight. We can't let the planet fall into the hands of men like Homer Smith.
I'm with you, Mr. Kent.
So am I, Clark.
Well, how about it, Chief?
Well, I don't know.
Hold it. Here comes Smith now.
I expect people to knock before they enter my office, Smith.
Sorry, White. But since I'm in charge here now, I hardly consider that necessary.
No, you don't,
Why,
eh?
the...
Quiet, Jim.
I don't care, White. I made it very clear this morning I wanted the editorial I wrote, the one against the World Peace Federation, on the first page of today's Planet. I've just seen the dummy. And the editorial isn't included.
You bet it isn't, and it won't be.
You realize, White, that you're deliberately disobeying my orders?
Put it that way if you like. And also put your head in a bucket and soak it.
Oh, boy.
Jim.
Very well. I accept your resignation, Mr. White.
You what?
I said I accept your resignation from the Daily Planet. Take effect at once.
Well, that's what you think. I've got a contract.
I understand that you have, that it still has 10 months to run. But contracts can be paid off, you know. I'll instruct the cashier to draw a check for 10 months' salary to your order. Then I'll expect you to leave here for good.
Now, wait.
Well, you can't do that.
If Mr. White goes, so do I.
That's quite all right with me, Miss Lane. As a matter of fact, I think it might be an excellent idea if you, Mr. Kent, and you, Olson, left the Planet's employ also. As such good friends of Mr. White, you might not be happy under a different regime. Good day, my friend.
Well, fire.
There goes your little plan, Kent.
Maybe not, Chief.
Well,
You
we're
just heard
fired,
him.
aren't we?
Take it easy now. Wait a minute. We're not licked yet. Where do you keep your contract, Chief?
In my safety deposit box at the bank. Why?
There's something I just remembered. I want to see that contract to check it over. Come on to the bank with me. Uh-huh. I thought I remembered your telling me about this clause in your contract, Chief. Here, read it, right where my finger's pointing.
Let's see. Good Godfrey, I forgot all about that clause, Kent. It's been 10 years since Grayson and I talked contract. We've just renewed automatically every year.
I figured you'd forgotten.
Oh, Kent, you're wonderful. So, Smith thinks he's got me over a barrel, eh? Let's go on back to the planet and just watch his face when he gets a load of this. Read that clause in my contract, Smith. Now, you see, it gives me undisputed authority to determine the editorial policy of the Daily Planet until the contract expires, 10 months from now, and I can't be bought off.
Does seem to give you that right, doesn't it?
No seeming about it, brother. It does. Well, what have you got to say now?
Grayson didn't tell me about this.
Well, I'm telling you. And I'm adding what I said before. Go soak your head in a bucket. For the next 10 months, I'm running the Daily Planet, and that means we're still on the side of the World Peace Federation.
You're making a great mistake, White.
I'm making a mistake.
Yes. I'd really advise you to accept the 10-month salary in advance and resign. It will save you a lot of trouble.
Smith, you've got more brass than a brass monkey, and you're just about as bright. But get this. You can sit around here if you like, as Mr. Grayson's flunky. But the next time you open your mouth about how I'm running this paper, out you go in your ear. You understand?
We'll see about that, White.
Good day, Mr. Smith.
Good day. He and this contract. I'll show him. He's running the planet, is he? He's still on the side of the World Peace Federation, eh? We'll see about that.
Hello?
Joe?
Yeah, who's this?
Homer Smith.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Smith. What's cooking?
I've got a little job for you.
Job? Sure. What, Mr. Smith?
Be on the southwest corner of Front and Main in 15 minutes. I'll pick you up in a cab.
Front and Main, okay. Just me, Mr. Smith?
Just you at the moment. But better tell a couple of your boys to stand by. You may need them later.
Replacing the phone, Homer Smith adjusts his eyeglasses, smooths his thick mouse-colored hair, and reaches for his hat. We'll return in a moment for the exciting climax of today's episode. So stand by.
Say, how good a marksman are you? Tell you how you can fix it so you can make a super score. Tomorrow morning at breakfast, train your aim on a blueberry bullseye. That's this week's pep dish of the week. And the tasty kind of target you just can't miss. Here's the idea. You pour into your bowl your regular serving of Kellogg's Pep, the Sunshine cereal. Heap a mound of chilled fresh blueberries, smack dab in the center, and finish off with milk and sugar. That's all the doing it takes to set up your blueberry bullseye. And, well, you can take it from there, gang. You'll be hitting this target time after time without any practice at all, because those crisp, tender flakes of Pep will show you the way. That sunny, golden toasted Pep flavor is sure lure. It's got come on in every delicious spoonful. Makes you want to polish off every last bit of Pep in your bowl, which is certainly the right idea, particularly nowadays when the cereal grains are being sent to fellows and girls overseas. Remember that when Mom brings Kellogg's Pep home from the grocer's. Keep a lookout to see that it's not wasted, and pass the word along to the rest of your family, too. If you pour your own Pep, pour it carefully and eat up every bit you pour out. Make sure you eat all your Pep. Don't waste it.
At 7 o'clock that evening, Clark Kent and Lois Lane are growing impatient in the dining room of the Metropolis Hotel.
It's 7 o'clock, Clark, and the Chief and Jim were due here at 6. Where do you suppose they are?
Search me, Lois.
Maybe you ought to call the office again.
Well, just call the office. Beanie says Mr. White and Jim left an hour ago.
Gee, that's funny. The Chief told us to be here promptly at 6. He said it was important.
I know. He wants to plan an even stronger support for the World Peace Federation. Oh, wait a minute. Here comes Jim.
Oh, good. I was beginning to get worried.
Hi, Jim.
Hi.
Where's the chief?
Isn't he here?
Does it look like he is? You went with him to his lawyer's office, didn't you, Jim?
Oh, sure, but that was a long time ago.
Well-
Then I went over to the vaults to leave his contract.
Where did he go?
Well, he got in a cab to come here.
What? Are you sure?
Of course I am. Jeepers. That was over an hour ago.
I just talked to Poco at the chief's house. He hasn't heard from him either.
And Beanie says he didn't come back to the office after he left me.
I called the newspaper club, and he isn't there either. But he left word there that he could be reached here.
Gosh, where do you suppose he is?
Can't imagine, Jim.
He might have been in an accident,
Oh,
Clark.
that's not likely, Lois. The police would have notified the office.
But something must have happened to him. He wouldn't just keep us waiting here for an hour and a half and not even telephone.
Yeah, I know. Look, Jim, you say you saw him get into a cab?
Uh-huh, when we left his lawyer's office.
Yeah?
He sent me over to the vaults to deposit his contract and said he'd meet me here at the hotel.
You got the cab in front of the Balsam building?
Right.
What kind of a cab was it, do you remember?
Well, it was a Packard, one of those privately owned hacks.
Oh? You remember what the driver looks like?
The driver?
Yeah.
Well, let's see.
We're wasting time, Clark. I think we ought to get in touch with Inspector Henderson.
Just a moment, Lois. Do you remember what the driver looked like, Jim?
Yeah, sure. He was a little red-headed guy with a turned-up nose.
Oh?
I remember because he reminded me of Mickey Rooney.
Good boy. All right, you and I'll go over there, Jim, and see if we can...
This is no time to play detective, Clark. We've got to get in touch with Inspector Henderson.
All right, you do that, Lois. Then call the office again and call Poco. Leave word to call you here if they hear from the chief.
But I'm going to headquarters.
You are not. It's just possible that the chief was delayed and will turn up here, so someone has to stay.
Oh, yes.
Jim and I are going over to the Balsam building and see if we can find that taxi driver. We'll contact you later. Come on, Jim. Still don't see the driver, huh, Jim?
No. Maybe he quit for the day, Mr. Kent.
Well, that isn't likely. The chief got in his cab around 6 o'clock, and drivers on duty then usually work through the night.
Oh. But why do you think the driver will come back to the Balsam building?
Because you said his cab was parked waiting for a fare when you saw it. There's a hack sign at the curb there, so chances are this particular driver used this stand.
Oh, that's right. I didn't notice the sign.
Uh-oh, cab just pulled in there. Come on, Jim.
Where? Oh, yeah. Oh, but that isn't the driver, Mr. Kent. I told you, he was a little red-headed guy.
I know, but this fellow might know something about it.
Oh.
Pardon me, buddy.
Get in, Mac, get in. Where do you want to go?
Oh, we don't want to go anyplace. We'd just like some information, if you don't mind. Have you...
Can you beat it? You're the third guy in 5 minutes wanting information.
What?
One guy asked where the subway is, another one if I can see his little dog, which is lost, and a dame asked me how she can go out to visit a ramp and children in Metropolis Heights without taking a cab.
That's very interesting,
Oh,
but I...
look, Mac, am I running a hack or an information bureau? That's what I want to know.
Oh, I see your point. Yeah, well, here, maybe this will pay you for your time in answering a question or two.
Oh, well, what do you know? $5. Hey, you're a right Joe, Mac. Fire away. What do you want to know? Ask me anything.
We're looking for a cab driver who was parked here a couple of hours ago at just about 6 o'clock. He drove an independently owned Packard cab.
Yeah, he's a little red-headed guy with a turned-up nose. It looks kind of like Mickey Rooney.
I don't know hacky that looks like Mickey Rooney.
You don't?
Nah, I don't hardly know any hackies. I just got separated from the Army, see? This is my first day driving a hack.
Oh,
I
shucks.
see. Did you happen to be parked here around 6 this evening?
6 o'clock?
Mm-hmm.
No. I was taking a fare over to Marshall Square about that time. Wacky old party. Let me tell you about him.
I'm sorry, but we're in a hurry. Thanks very much, though.
For nothing.
You're welcome, Mac. Come again anytime.
Well, that was a washout. What do we do now, Mr. Kent? Keep waiting around to see if our driver shows up?
No, I don't think so, Jim. We've been here an hour already. Anyway, I've just thought of a surer way of locating him.
Oh, how?
I'll show you if necessary after we've talked to Lois. She might have heard from the chief by now.
Gosh, I hope so. I'm getting awful worried.
All right, come on. There's a drugstore on the corner. I'll call her from there.
Hello, Clark. Any luck?
Not yet, Lois. How about you?
Not a thing.
Uh-oh.
I called the office again and Mr. White's house and the newspaper club and his lawyer and every place else I could think of, but it's no soap.
Oh.
Now, I'm really getting scared, Clark. Here it is almost 3 hours since he was supposed to meet us, and then...
Whoa. Take it easy, Lois. Did you call Inspector Henderson?
Yes, of course, right after you and Jim left.
Uh-huh.
He said he'd do what he can, but he hasn't called back yet.
Well, he hasn't had much time. Now, look, Jim and I are going over to headquarters.
What for?
We're going to check on a hack driver at the Public Vehicle Bureau.
Oh.
I want you to call John Grayson, our
Well,
publisher, and tell him the chief is missing.
Yes.
Tell him...
I did. I've already called him. He's out of town.
He is?
Yes.
Where did he go, do you know?
No, the butler didn't know either, and Mrs. Grayson's out. She won't be back until about 11.
That's odd. Grayson didn't say anything about leaving town when the chief and I saw him this morning.
So what?
Well, Nothing, maybe.
Maybe. What do you mean?
No, I'd rather not talk about it yet. Now, look, Lois, you stay at the hotel,
I
so
feel
we...
so useless, Clark, and the house detective's beginning to look at me suspiciously.
Well, show him your press card and stay there. If anything turns up, call me at the Public Vehicle Bureau at Police Headquarters. Have you got that?
Yes, I have. But, Clark, I'm terribly worried.
Well, frankly, so am I. I'll call you later.
I never knew there were so many taxi drivers in Metropolis, Mr. Kent. I'll bet I've looked at 1,000 photographs.
Oh, hardly that many, Jim. I only showed you the ones whose description mentions red hair.
Well, now what?
Well, we've gone through all the photographs in the police files.
Well, we couldn't if we haven't found the driver we're looking for yet.
Either you missed him among these
No,
photographs.
I didn't. I remember what he looked like.
Well, then this is really beginning to look serious, Jim.
What do you mean?
I mean that apparently the man who drove Mr. White from the Balsam building this evening was not a registered hack driver.
But he must have been. He had a regular taxi.
Not one of the big fleet cabs, but a privately owned one.
Well, sure, but
It isn't hard to take a limousine and paint taxi and the rate charges on the doors.
Huh? Oh, no, I guess it isn't. Why should anyone want to do that?
Because it's an excellent way to avoid leaving a trail, that's why. Once the job is over, the paint is removed from the doors, and the driver, who isn't registered as a hacky, merely disappears.
Jeepers. You think somebody waited for Mr. White in a phony cab and then took him away someplace?
That's exactly what I think, Jim.
But who?
I'm not sure.
And why?
I'm not sure of that either, but I've got an idea.
Yeah, what is it?
Well, I think... Uh-oh, it's past 11 o'clock. I've got to be going.
Where?
Well, there's no time to explain now.
Oh, there you go with that no time to explain stuff again.
Please, Jim, don't interrupt me. I want you to promise me something.
What's that?
I want your word that you'll go straight home in a taxi I'll put you in, and that you'll stay home until you come to work tomorrow.
But why can't I go with you?
Because you can't, and that's that. You're in danger enough as it is.
Danger? Me?
Yes, you and Lois, too, and I'm not sure who else. That's why I'm making sure Lois doesn't leave the Metropolis Hotel until I call for her.
But I don't get it. What danger are we in?
Well, if I'm right, and I think I am, you're in great danger from the same people who caused Mr. White's disappearance.
What?
How about it, Jim? You're holding me up on something very important. Will you promise me to go right home and stay there?
Well, if you put it that way...
Attaboy. All right, come on now. We'll find a cab and send you home. And then just keep your fingers crossed that my little hunch will work out.
Reluctantly and nervously, too, Jimmy Olsen accompanies Clark Kent from police headquarters. What hunch is Kent about to follow? We'll return in a moment for the exciting climax of today's episode. So stand by.
Say, come and get it, gang. We're all set to give you the steer on this week's Pep Dish of the Week. And is it a rip snorter? It's called Peach Roundup. Yes, sir, Peach Roundup, a brand new dish with brand new fixins for Kellogg's Pep, the Sunshine cereal. Now, here's how you rustle it up. Place half a peach in your breakfast bowl. Cover it with your regular serving of Pep, and top with the other peach half, round side up. Add cool milk and sugar, and there's your Peach Roundup. Just wait till your folks see the high, wide, and handsome dish you've shaped up. Why, there's bound to be a regular stampede. So dig right in pronto and get that terrific peach and pep flavor. You'll say those crisp, tender flakes of Kellogg's Pep are mighty fine grazing. Why, Pep's smooth, full wheat flavor goes over big every time. Each golden toasted flake has you wanting more of the same till your bowl's clean empty, which is the right idea, particularly nowadays when we're sending the grains to fellows and girls across the seas. So remember to eat every bit of Pep you pour into your dish. Make it a habit to eat all your Pep. Don't waste it.
Jimmy Olsen has just returned to his house. Calling out to his mother, who was in her room upstairs, that he will go to bed directly, the young reporter enters the kitchen for a glass of milk. He is opening the refrigerator when the telephone rings. Quickly, he goes into the dining room and answers.
Hello?
Is this James Olsen?
Yes, who...
Do you by any chance know Mr. Perry White?
Do I? I'll say I do. He's my boss, and he's... Wait a minute. What about him?
He gave me a message for you.
He did? For me? When? Where?
Well, as a matter of fact, the message was first for Mr. Clark Kent, and then for Miss Lois Lane, and finally for you.
Oh, well, they're out. What about this message? Where did you get it, and what is it?
Please, don't be so impetuous. I've had a great deal of trouble about this message already. I've also lost at least 2 hours of sleep.
Well, then, tell me what it is, will you, please?
Well, it isn't something I can tell you. I must give it to you.
What do you mean?
Well, it's in a sealed envelope, and I never open other people's mail. If you wish it, you must come over here for it.
Oh, yeah? Come where?
To the newspaper club.
A newspaper club?
Exactly. I shall be in the library doing my best to keep awake. But hurry, please.
Okay, but wait, what's your name? How'd you get... Hello? Hello? Hello. Doggone it, he hung up. Jeepers, I don't get this. But he said he had a message from Mr. White, and he's at the newspaper club. I know I promised Mr. Kent I'd stay home, but... Oh, there can't be any danger there. I better get over there right away.
You're in great danger, Jim. I want you to promise me not to leave your house until morning.
Oh, shucks. Nothing can happen to me at the newspaper club. I'll walk up to the boulevard and flag a cab.
Hey, wait 1 minute, kid.
Huh? Who said that?
Me. I said, don't move. Stay where you are.
Terrified, his legs suddenly like rubber, Jimmy stands rooted to the sidewalk, unable to move, as a huge, burly figure steps swiftly from the bushes and looms upon him. The young reporter tries to shout, but his tongue cleaves to the roof of his mouth. Then he recognizes Boris Harchenko, the brawny foreman in the Daily Planet printing room.
Boris.
Yeah, it's Boris.
Oh, boy, did you give me a scare. I thought...
Never mind, you thought. Why you do go out of house when Mr. Kent say you stay inside?
Oh, did Mr. Kent send you to watch me?
Yeah. He say, Boris, I think Jim may be in danger. You go see he don't leave house tonight. Also see nobody go in Jim house tonight.
Well, I've got to go to the newspaper club. You can come along if you want to.
No, you don't go no place.
Oh.
Mr. Kent, he say, you stay in your house. By golly, you stay in house.
Now, look, Boris.
Come, Boris, take you inside.
No, wait, will you listen? There's somebody waiting for me at the newspaper club. He knows about Mr. White.
What about Mr. White?
Well, you know he disappeared, don't you?
Yeah, Boris know. He's very sad.
Okay, so I got a phone call just now, and this man, whoever he is, said he's got a message for me from Mr. White.
Hey, what kind message?
I don't know. Now, look, Boris, if you're coming along, let go of my arm. I've got to get over to the club, and fast.
No, Jim. You don't go there.
Why?
This business is smell very bad to Boris. He smell like funny trick.
I think it's on the level, Boris. You see, I thought it was a trick, too, until he told me to meet him at the newspaper club. But only big-shot reporters and editors and correspondents and people like that belong to the club. So nothing can happen to me there. Now, come on, come with me. We've got to hurry. This is the newspaper club library, Boris, where the man said he'd wait for me.
Is nobody here?
Huh. That's funny.
Like I say before, this is smell bad, Jim.
But why should he tell me to come all the way down here if he... Oh, wait, here comes a porter. I'll ask him. Excuse me. I'm Jim Olson of the Daily Planet.
Yes, sir, Mr. Olson. I've seen you here with Mr. White and Mr. Kent.
Oh, that's right. Well, listen, somebody was supposed to meet me tonight, here in the library. Do you recall anyone waiting here?
No, sir. Could you tell me who the gentleman is, Mr. Olson?
Well, I don't know. He just called me up to say he had to see me about about something important and said he'd wait in the library.
I see. I'm sorry, but I don't recall seeing anyone in here during the last hour.
Oh, gosh. I don't understand this at all.
Puzzled and uneasy, Jimmy Olsen and Boris Harchenko stand in the library of the newspaper club, uncertain of what to do next. Meanwhile, in John Grayson's fine home in a nearby suburb, Clark Kent is questioning Mrs. Grayson, wife of the Daily Planet publisher.
So you don't know where your husband is, Mrs. Grayson?
No, I don't, Mr. Kent. He packed a bag and left the house this morning, soon after you and Mr. White had been here.
Didn't you ask him where he was going?
Well,
Yes?
Look,
Mrs. Grayson, I'm not merely being curious, you understand. Perry White has disappeared. And, well, it's just possible that Mr. Grayson might be able to help me trace him.
I'm terribly shocked about Mr. White, but I really have no idea where my husband is, Mr. Kent. I did ask him where he was going.
What did he say?
He said he didn't know.
What?
He said it depended on how certain affairs developed. Well, that's all he would tell me.
That's odd.
I'm really quite worried, Mr. Kent. My husband never acted this way before. Well, he hasn't been at all like himself lately either.
How do you mean?
Well, he's always been so hearty, and good-natured. But lately he's been so quiet and distraught. Why, he never even smiles anymore. I tried to talk to him about it several times, but he just snapped at me.
It sounds as if there's something on his mind, doesn't it?
I'm sure there is something worrying him, but he won't admit it. And once or twice...
Yes?
Well, I had the distinct impression that he was terribly frightened of something.
I'm sure he is.
And John, why, he's never been afraid in his life. I can't understand it. I worry about it.
Naturally, but I'm glad you've taken me into your confidence, Mrs. Grayson, and maybe I can help get to the bottom of this mystery.
I do hope so.
Tell me, do you know a man named Smith, Homer Smith?
Well, yes. He's been here several times to see John. I believe he's some sort of business associate. Why do you ask?
I'm a bit curious about him. What do you know about Mr. Smith?
Well, very little, really. He had dinner with us once, a month or two ago, and he's dropped in several times since then. Usually in the evening when he and John close themselves in the den to talk business, he... Oh.
What is it?
Oh, I know this seems silly, but it just occurred to me that John always seems especially disturbed after one of Mr. Smith's visits.
Oh, that's very interesting. Do you happen to know where Mr. Smith lives, Mrs. Grayson?
Well, let me see. He mentioned it once. Oh, yes, I remember. He lives at the Metropolis Hotel.
Metropolis Hotel? I left Lois there.
I beg your pardon?
Oh, nothing. I've got to leave now, Mrs. Grayson. Please don't worry about Mr. Grayson. I'm quite sure he's all right. Good night.
Leaving the Grayson residence, Clark Kent steps behind a tall hedge and swiftly resumes his true identity of Superman. Then, up, and away! Leaping high into the night sky, Superman streaks back to the city and to the Metropolis Hotel, where the mysterious Mr. Homer Smith lives, and where Lois Lane is supposedly still waiting for Kent's return. Meanwhile, Jimmy Olsen and Boris Archenko, after fruitless questioning of clerks and page boys, have left the newspaper club and entered a taxi which was waiting at the curb.
I can't understand why this guy phoned me and said he had a message from Mr. White and then wasn't at the club. It doesn't add up, Boris.
No, all I know is whole thing still smell bad, Jim. Very bad.
Where to, gents?
1623 West. What?
The driver, he asked where we go. 1623
West.
West.
Quiet, Boris. What did you say, driver?
I said, where do you want to go?
1623 Western Avenue.
Okay.
Hey, what for?
Boris, it's him.
Him who?
This taxi driver. He's the man who phoned me tonight.
What?
Yes, I'm sure of it. Now that I got a good look at him, I know he's the guy who drove Mr. White from the Balsam building when the chief disappeared. Boy, are we in a spot.
His mouth dropping in shocked amazement, Boris Archenko looks from the excited Jimmy Olsen to the wiry, red-headed little driver at the wheel of their cab. We'll return in a moment for the tense climax of today's episode. So stand by.
Say, if you're hep to Kellogg's Pep, most likely you're hep to eating a slick breakfast. And you're one of those up-and-at-'em fellows or girls who tear off for fun every vacation day, all set for big doings. Because Pep sure does give your morning appetite the old 1-2. Makes you want to eat plenty. Maybe it's that sunshine flavor, a keen sort of flavor that you can really latch on to. So good it practically begs to be eaten. Maybe it's the tender crispness of Kellogg's Pep, a delicate, crunchy crispness that, well, you practically can't resist. Or maybe it's the way Pep looks in your dish, all light and cool and inviting. But probably it's flavor and crispness and looks that make Pep so terrific. Why, you find each flake of Pep has you wanting more of the same so that, well, when you pitch in, you keep right on, and before you know it, you've cleaned up every last flake in your bowl. And that's the right idea, especially nowadays, because the cereal grains are being sent to give that good grain nourishment to fellows and girls overseas. So get hep to Pep, gang. Just remember, eat all your Pep. Don't waste it.
After boarding a taxicab which was standing in front of the newspaper club, Jimmy Olsen gasped, then said excitedly to Boris Archenko, the Daily Planet printing room foreman,
Boris, the guy who's driving this cab is the one who phoned me tonight.
What?
Yes, I'm sure of it. What's more, he's the one who drove Mr. White from the Balsam building when the chief disappeared.
You sure, Jim?
I'm positive. He's the same little red-headed guy.
Uh-huh.
What'll we do, Boris?
You no worry, Jim. I fix him good.
Say, what's he turning into this alley for?
Leave him to me, Jim. I take care of this fella.
You're not taking care of anybody, big boy.
Look out, Boris. He's got a gun.
Yes, and it's loaded. So you did remember me as the driver of Mr. White's cab, eh, Olsen?
Huh? What do you mean?
I heard you just now. That's why I got you down to the newspaper club tonight, so I could pick you up in my cab and find out if you could identify me.
Now, wait a minute.
Well, you recognized me all right, and that makes it too bad for you, Olsen, and for your big friend here. Step out of the car, please. This is the end of the line for you. So you did remember me, eh, Olsen?
Why,
That's what I wanted to find out.
That's why I got you down to the newspaper club tonight.
So, you called Jim on telephone tonight, huh? You say you got message from Mr. White, huh?
Sure he did, Boris.
That's right, big boy, and it's too bad for you that Olson's got such a good memory. Get out of the cab now, both of you. This is the end of the line.
Now, wait a minute.
Listen, mister. You put away that gun or with bare hands.
Wait, Boris, relax. Here comes another car.
Don't get your hopes up, sonny boy. Those are my pals in that station wagon.
Your pal?
Yes. Leo?
Yeah, Joe. Everything okay?
Right, come and get him. Okay, Olson, and you, big boy, get out of the cab.
Good work, Joe.
Look, Jim,
Okay,
I
boys.
take care of these
Take 'em
fellas.
into the
You're on
wagon.
fast.
Nothing doing. I'm going
You do like Boris say. Nah, you're tough guys.
Look out, Leo.
I don't think you're tough guys, huh? Well, Boris picks you. Get
Attaboy, Boris.
Come on, you guys. Finish this big one in a hurry. We're making too much noise.
Uh-huh. You're not finished Boris in a hurry. Run, Jim, run.
Hey,
Uh-oh.
hey, listen.
That sounds like the cops. Slug him, Leo, fast. Let's get out of here.
Say, stupid.
Boris, look out.
That does it.
Boris.
Nice going, Leo. That takes care of the big guy. Quick, now grab Olson, dump them both in the station wagon, and then scram. Fast. I'll block the alley with the cab.
Okay, Joe. Come on, you guys. On a double.
Picking up the unconscious Boris Archenko, the gang lift him into the station wagon, force Jimmy in, and leap up beside him as Joe, the big taxi driver, swings his cab around to block the narrow alley. Then he leaps from the cab into the station wagon, which roars away and disappears into the night. Meanwhile, Superman, believing that Jimmy is safe at home, has streaked from the suburban residence of John Grayson, the Planet publisher, to the Metropolis Hotel, where he had left Lois Lane. Once more in his guise of Clark Kent, he enters the hotel lobby and breathes a sigh of relief as he sees the girl reporter nervously pacing the floor.
Thank heaven you're still here.
Why? You told me to wait here, didn't you?
Yes, but that isn't the point.
Well,
I was...
skip it. Did you find out anything about Mr. White?
No, but you
Neither
see...
have I. Just talked to Inspector Henderson, and he hasn't found out anything either.
Look, wait a minute.
Oh, Clark, what are we going to do? I'm so worried I could
take
just
it easy,
die.
Lois. Take it easy,
Take
will
it
you?
easy. Do you realize that it's 1 o'clock in the morning and the chief has been missing since late yesterday afternoon?
I know, but we've got to keep cool and use our heads. I've got a theory about the chief's disappearance.
Well, isn't that peachy? This is no time for theories. We've got to find him.
Will you pull yourself together? I want you to have a cool head when we speak to Mr. Smith.
Mr. Who?
Homer Smith, our publisher's representative.
Oh, that's Stu.
He lives right here in this hotel. That's why I was so worried about you.
Worried about me?
Yes.
I don't get it.
Then listen, will you? My hunch is that Mr. Homer Smith knows a good deal about the chief's disappearance.
What?
He may even have had something to do with it.
Now, look, Claude, just because you dislike the man is no reason
Will
to
you
suspect
listen?
him of being a...
Smith ordered all of us on the Daily Planet to attack the World Peace Federation, didn't he?
He certainly did, but we stopped his clock when Mr. White showed him that clause in his contract, giving Mr. White the right to determine our editorial policy.
Yes, and Smith didn't like that one little bit.
Then he can lump it.
He doesn't have to lump it if the chief disappears from the scene. Without Editor White's presence, no one can challenge his right to do what he wants on the planet. Now do you see what I'm driving at?
Yes, but... Clark, you're out of your mind.
I'm not.
Do you think Mr. Grayson would make anyone his personal representative who was a criminal?
Well, of course not, not if he had a choice. But Grayson couldn't help making Smith his personal representative.
What do you mean?
I told you, Grayson is obviously living in mortal fear of something, or someone. And I think that someone is Smith.
Now, wait.
I saw that fear in Grayson yesterday. And when I spoke to his wife tonight, she confirmed it. She said it started when Homer Smith began coming to their house a couple of months ago.
But why? What's the connection between Smith and Grayson?
My hunch is that Smith has something on Grayson, and he's using it to get control of the Daily Planet so that he can fight the World Peace Federation.
You're only guessing, Clark.
Well, sure, I'm only guessing, but I think it's a good guess. For my money, the unassuming Mr. Smith is a resourceful and dangerous character. I believe he had something to do with Mr. White's disappearance, and unless we get the goods on him in a hurry, you and Jim, especially Jim, are in danger.
Me? Jim? Why?
Because Jim saw the driver of the taxi in which the chief was last seen. He can identify that driver. The logical assumption is that he told you and me about it.
Good heavens, if you are right, Clark, but Jim, he might... Well, you know how impetuous he is.
Don't worry about Jim tonight. He gave me his word he'd stay at home, and I posted Boris Archenko at his house to stand guard.
Oh, well, that makes me feel a little better. But the chief, what are we
We're going to find the chief. Come on.
Where are we going?
We're going to call on Homer Smith. We'll get his room number from the desk clerk. Come on, this way. Never mind. Don't waste time knocking, Lois. Smith isn't in his room.
How do you know? He hasn't had time to answer yet.
I know, but he's not there, I tell you.
You can see through the door, I suppose, like Superman.
Yes.
Oh, stop it, Clark. This is no time for jokes. dear, why doesn't he answer?
Because he isn't there, I said.
But it's after 1 o'clock in the morning.
So what? Everybody seems to be missing tonight. The chief, John Grayson, now Homer Smith.
Grayson, too?
Oh, yes, I forgot to tell you. He packed a bag and left his house without telling anyone where he was going.
He did?
Uh-huh. My hunch is that he, Smith, and the chief are all together someplace, which means bad news for the chief.
Will you stop saying these terrible things?
I'm sorry. I was thinking out loud. Frankly, I'm worried, too. Plenty worried. Come on.
Where to now?
To police headquarters. There's something Inspector Henderson has to do, and fast.
I think you're all wet about Smith and John Grayson, Kent.
So do I.
No, I'm not, Inspector. Now, listen. will you?
Don't go into your song and dance again.
But
I'll have Smith investigated if it'll make you feel any better.
Well, it will, but we can't wait for that. You've got to trace Smith and John Grayson tonight, right away. I'm certain that trail will lead to Perry White.
Now, look, Kent. I've got the whole department hunting for Mr. White. We can't split up and start looking for everybody else under the sun just because you sell yourself a cockeyed idea.
But it isn't a cockeyed idea.
I think it is.
I know it is. Look, Grayson wouldn't sell out to anybody wanting to undermine the World Peace Federation. I know Grayson. He's too big, too intelligent to do that.
That's what I've been telling Clark.
Will you
Inspector.
please both listen to me? I tell you, Grayson hasn't changed his convictions. He's scared half out of his wits. I believe it's Homer Smith he's scared of.
That goes for me, too.
Well, of all the stubborn...
That's my phone.
All right.
Anderson speaking. Oh, yes, Healy. You did? Where? Are you sure? Uh-huh. How about the driver? Oh, he did, huh? Okay, I'll be right out. Stay there. Well, folks, maybe we've got a lead at last.
What do you mean, Inspector?
A lead to Mr. White?
Yeah. One of our patrol cars pulled into an alley behind the newspaper club to break up a fight.
The newspaper club?
The men got away, but they left a Packard cab.
What?
One of those driver-owned jobs.
Hey, wait a minute. That was the kind of car Mr. White disappeared in.
Yes.
Right, Kent. Healy thinks it's the same car. Come on, we've got to get over there. Follow me.
Followed by Clark Kent and Lois Lane, Inspector Henderson leads the way from his office to his car. Will they pick up the trail of Jimmy Olsen and Boris Halchenko? We'll know in a moment when we return for the exciting climax of today's episode. So stand by.
Say, gang, this week's Pep Dish of the Week is sure riding high. Maybe that's because it's Peach Roundup. Yes, sir, that's what it's called. And let me say, you'll be sitting mighty pretty when you hit the breakfast trail with this slick dish. Now, here's the idea. You place half a peach in your dish. Cover it with your regular serving of Kellogg's Pep, the Sunshine cereal, and top with the other peach half, round side up. Add cool milk and sugar, and there's your Peach Roundup, one of the dozens of ways Kellogg's Pep can give breakfast a boost. These crisp, tender flakes of Pep set the pace. Pep up the peaches like anything. Yes, Pep just naturally does something for fruit, and does a mighty smooth job of rustling up your appetite, too. Because Pep is crisp and crunchy and tender toasted. Coaxes you on and on with its keen, sunny flavor till your bowl is polished off clean, which is always the right idea, and particularly right nowadays when we're sending the cereal grains to fellows and girls all over the world. Think of that when Mom brings Kellogg's Pep home from the grocer's. Eat every bit of Pep you pour into your dish. Remember, eat all your Pep. Don't waste it.
As Clark Kent, Inspector Henderson, and Lois Lane hurry to the alley from which Jimmy Olsen and Boris Halchenko had been taken in the station wagon, Jimmy and Boris, their arms and legs bound, are lying on the floor of a basement hideout a mile or two away. Half a dozen men playing cards at a nearby table pause in their play as one of their number, a hard-faced man named Leo, talks on the telephone.
Now, listen, Joe. That kind of job costs more money.
I think he's talking about us, boys.
Hey, shut up, you. Stop monkeying with them ropes. It won't do you no good.
Shut up, Nick. Yeah? Go on, Joe. 500 extra? Well, I guess that'll be okay. Sure, we'll take care of him right away. Okay. Yeah, relax. Check. So long. What'd he say, Leo? He says we rub out these two guys, but quick.
What? Boris, did you hear that?
Holy smokes, that's...
Come on, let's get the job over with and blow. Let me have your gun, Nick.
Yeah.
Okay, Olsen. And you too, big boy. Get set for the big sleep.
What the... See who's at the door, Nick. The rest of you guys over against the wall. Fast.
This may be trouble for you, no?
Shut up. Nobody make a sound now. Okay, Nick, ask who it is.
Maybe it's the police, Boris, or Mr. Kent.
Oh,
How'd they know where we are?
There was a loose board in the station wagon. I squirted ink from my fountain pen through it.
Who's with
Hey,
you, Chuck?
what are you doing?
Be quiet.
Says he's alone.
Okay, let him in. Then lock the door again.
For Pete's sake,
Keep him
Boris,
covered
what are you
just in
doing?
case.
Almost I got ropes off.
Hurry up. Close that door again.
Oh, holy smokes, what are you trying to do? Don't you know that?
No. Now I show you.
Careful, Boris.
I want to finish this.
No, Boris is gonna finish.
Look out, Leon. A big guy. Look out.
You're gonna kill, huh?
Like a man gone berserk, the giant Boris first smashes Leo to the floor with a chair, and the gunman's shots go wildly into the walls. Then, as the other men in the room leap toward him, Boris seizes one of them, hurls him at the others, and sends them all sprawling to their knees. Then, catching up the bound Jimmy, Boris leaps with him through an open door into a tiny bedroom and slams the door.
In 1 minute, Jim, I untie
Lock
you.
the door first.
No key. I push this dresser against door. Like this. That hold them out for a couple minutes.
Boris, you're terrific. But what do we do now?
First, I get ropes off you, Jim. Then we go out.
We go out where, Boris?
Through window. Okay, ropes off.
Wait, through what window?
Through. Ivan Ivanovich is no window.
The door's coming off the hinges. Look.
And they got guns? This not look so good, Jim.
You're not kidding. If only the police in their radio car had seen the ink trail I left. But I guess they didn't, or they'd have been here by now.
How they see ink on streets at night?
Jeepers, I never thought of that. They couldn't see it. Look, Boris. The door's off the hinges now. They'll tip over the dresser in a minute. We're through.
Straining desperately, Jimmy Olsen and Boris Harchenko, continuing their futile effort to hold the dresser and unhinged door in the path of the 7 gunmen, feel themselves slowly forced back into the tiny windowless room, which has become a death trap. Meanwhile, Clark Kent and Inspector Henderson, having dropped Lois Lane at her apartment, are in the alley behind the newspaper club, where Sergeant Healy shows them a large limousine with the word taxi painted on the doors.
Take a look, Inspector. Mr. Kent. There's no taximeter in this car. No cab registration card, no hacky card.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's a phony cab, all right.
And it answers the description of the one Mr. White was abducted in yesterday.
That's what I thought as soon as I saw it.
What's the story here, Healy?
Well, radio car 18 was cruising on Main Street when they heard a big fight in the alley here. They turned in, and the mugs heard them coming. One of them swung this phony cab around to block the alley.
Uh-huh.
And they all scrammed out the other end of the First Street in the station wagon.
Did they get the license number of the station wagon?
Nah, they couldn't see on the big jalopy.
Did they get a look at any of the men, Healy?
Not clear. All they know, one of them was a big guy with a voice like a lion. Had an accent to set.
A big guy with an accent?
Uh-huh. Was yelling at somebody named Jim or Jim.
Great Scott, that must have been Boris and Jim.
What's that, Kent?
I'm afraid Jim Olsen and Boris Harchenko are in trouble, Inspector.
Jim Olsen?
Who's Boris Harchenko?
Boris is the Daily Planet printing room foreman. I told him to watch Jim Olsen's house tonight. I knew Jim was in danger because he saw the driver of this phony taxi, the one who abducted Perry White yesterday.
Oh, but...
Hey, wait, where are you going, Kent?
Just looking around. Jim may have dropped a... Uh-oh. Here, look at this.
What is it, Kent?
Ink stains. Green ink.
Ink? Oh, the blazers. Can you see ink in
Got
this
a flashlight, Healy?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, but, Kent, I don't see how you can see
Here,
it.
well, I just caught a trick gleam of light or something.
What do you want that light, Kent?
Right here at my feet, Healy.
Yeah.
There. See?
Hey, George, it is green ink.
Sure is.
All right, now move your light further down in the same direction, Healy. No, this way. This way. Follow me.
I guess?
That's right. Come on, keep on. Come on. There, look.
More green ink stains.
What's it mean?
It means that Jim Olsen was here and that he was smart enough to leave a trail for us to follow.
How'd you figure that out, Kent?
I know Jim always uses green ink in his fountain pen. I'm sure Jim and Boris were here,
It adds up to me, Inspector.
Great Jupiter. Ink stains on a dirty pavement and at night?
It'd be mighty hard to follow.
We'll manage it. Healy, tell the boys in the prowl car to follow these tracks, and we'll follow them.
Yes, sir, but how?
Well, one of them will have to ride the bumper with a flashlight and direct the driver.
I get it. Hey, Komarski, Jenny. The inspector's got a real job for you.
Well, I'll see you later, Inspector.
Hey, wait, aren't you going with us?
No, I'd only be in the way.
Oh, nonsense.
Besides, I want to check up on Lois.
All right, Inspector.
Coming. Okay. Suit yourself, Kent.
Following that ink trail is a job for Superman. Into this doorway and off with these clothes. My hunch is that Jim and Boris need me now. All right. There we are. All set.
Now,
Up, and away!
once more taking to the skyways, Superman streaks away to follow the faint trail of ink left by Jimmy Olsen. Will it lead all the way to the hideout? And will the Man of Steel arrive in time? We'll return in a moment to find out. So stand by.
When I say that Kellogg's Pep is as terrific a breakfast dish as you'd ever want to taste, I mean it's terrific. Why, who could ask for more tender crispness, more sunny flavor? Pep is called the sunshine cereal, you know. It's chock full of keen, catchy flavor, cool and crisp and light. Keeps your spoon going right back for more. Yes, sir, Kellogg's Pep sure is on the beam when it comes to snappy eating. Looks good in your bowl, all delicate and golden. And does it taste good? Why, Pep is so super delicious that, well, it's practically irresistible. And Pep is good for you. Sure, your mom knows that. Gives you solid whole wheat nourishment and more. To sum it all up, gang, Kellogg's Pep is a grand, cool treat any and every day come breakfast time. You can hardly wait to pitch in and finish off every toasted spoonful in your bowl. And that's the thing to do, you know, because, you see, the cereal grains have been picked out to help give good nourishment to fellows and girls overseas. Remember that when Mom brings Kellogg's Pep home from the grocer's. Polish off every bit of Pep you pour into your dish. Always make sure to eat all your Pep. Don't waste it.
As Superman is following the faint trail of ink left by Jimmy Olsen, the cub reporter and Boris Archenko are facing death in the tiny windowless bedroom of the gang's basement hideout. 7 tough men, led by the man named Leo, have finally succeeded in crashing through the door and overturning the dresser which had been blocking it. Now Leo stands in the doorway, gun in hand, facing Jimmy and the giant Boris.
I told you once you couldn't get away, so now you're going to get it.
No, wait.
The big palooka crowned me with that chair, so he gets it first. So long, big boy.
Hey, wait. I'll take that. Leave me with those bullets. I'll take that gun, I said, and you take this.
Superman, Boris, look, it's Superman.
It's my friend Superman. Me and him will finish this fella.
Nice going, Boris. Now, what'll I do with you two? I know, just wrap your 2 heads together like this. Guaranteed to keep you out of it.
Attaboy, Superman. Look out, Boris.
This face I don't like, so I fix it this way.
Wow, what a haymaker.
Your 2 heads will look well together, too, like this.
Somebody maybe like
There we are.
fight around here.
Is party all over, too bad.
You all right, Jim?
Yeah, thanks to you, Superman. If you'd showed up just 1 second later, though, it would have been too bad.
A sure thing. No more fighting, these fellers. Hey, look, this one, Leo. Look, he tried to stand up.
Keep that wild man away from me.
Let him alone, Boris. I want him to talk. All right, tough guy, talk. Where's Perry White?
I never heard of no Perry White.
Don't lie.
I ain't lying honest. We just worked for Joe Barton.
Who's Joe Barton?
Why, he's the guy who drove away with Mr. White in that phony cab yesterday.
Well, he's the one I want. Where is he? All right, you talk and talk fast. Where's Joe Barton?
In the Miller Hotel on Morton Street. But don't tell him I tipped you off. He'll kill me.
Maybe the state will save him that job.
Hey, listen, sirens.
Good. Must be Inspector Henderson following your green ink trail, Jim. That was pretty clever of you.
Hey, Jimmy is smart boy, Superman.
Oh, cut it out.
Boris, you turn these chaps over to Henderson while Jim and I hop across town to the Miller Hotel and pick up Joe Barton, okay?
Okay.
Ready, Jim?
Am I, and how?
Well, let's go.
Do we knock on the door, Superman?
No use, Jim. We're too late.
Oh, what do you mean?
Get ready for a shock. Come on, the door's unlocked.
Cleeps. Look, on the floor.
Yes. Is that Joe Barton?
I don't know. I don't know his name. But it's the driver of the phony taxi cab, the one Mr. White disappeared in yesterday.
Are you sure?
Oh, I'm positive. Is it?
Yes, he's dead. He was stabbed through the heart.
Golly.
Our friends apparently decided to play it safe.
What do you mean?
I told you they weren't taking any chances. Whoever's behind all this is clever and ruthless. He or they won't stop at anything, not even murder. Whoever it is must have a big stake in sabotaging the World Peace Federation.
What? The World Peace Federation?
Exactly.
But how does that figure in all that's happened tonight?
I'll tell you. Mr. White disappeared right after he refused to attack the Federation in the Daily Planet, right?
Yes, but
the attack on you and now Barton's death all point to the same source, which I'm convinced is an individual or organization against world peace.
Oh, I see what you mean. But, gee whiz, how are we going to find Mr. White now? We figured on this fellow to tell us where he is.
Now, this is a tough break, Jim. But we'll find Mr. White another way, and before we're through, we'll track down the people who are willing to commit murder in order to sabotage the World Peace Federation. Come on.
As Superman and Jimmy Olsen leave the shabby Miller Hotel, a quite different scene is taking place in a vastly different setting. Some 40 miles from Metropolis, on a lushly green wooded island off the coast, sprawls a huge mansion of gray stone, looking as if it had been hewn out of the very rock it rests upon to overlook the sullen sea. At the very top of the house, in an unbreakable glass-walled turret, which revolves at the touch of a lever, is a circular study from which the view spreads uninterruptedly over the sea, the star-studded sky, and the island estate. And in it sit two men. One, neatly dressed, wearing eyeglasses and looking not unlike an accountant, is Homer Smith, whom we have met before. The other man is of an indeterminate middle age, sharp of face and eye, deeply tanned. His thin legs are encased in beautifully cut riding breeches and boots, and his muscular torso is covered with a heavy maroon silk shirt open at the throat. Only his bloodless lips and long claw-like hands reveal his savage nature. This man is Rufus Pelly, reputed to be one of the richest men in the world.
Joe Barton. You took care of him, Smith?
Yes, I did, Mr. Perry, personally, just as you directed.
Good. With him out of the way, Perry White's abduction can possibly be traced to you. You can go ahead with your work.
Yes, sir.
Now, about Olsen. He got away, you know.
No. That's impossible. He couldn't.
Nevertheless, he did. I got the report on the teletype a half hour ago. You were a fool to let Barton go after him, Smith. First White, then Olsen. Didn't you realize you'd have every police officer in Metropolis down on your head?
But Olsen saw Barton drive away with Mr. White. I thought...
You should have put Barton out of the way at once. Then you could forget Olsen. It's smart not to commit any more murders than necessary.
Yeah. It's a joke coming from you.
Don't get insolent, Smith.
I'm sorry, sir. I didn't mean it.
What a spineless pup you are. Why don't you stand up to me? Of course I'm a murderer. As the greatest producer of arms and munitions in the world, I'm a wholesale murderer. I give millions of stupid men the weapons and shells with which to destroy each other in war. And they pay me well for it. Very well.
You're a strange man, Mr. Perry.
I'm a truthful man when I'm in the mood, but we're wasting time. You've got to get back to Metropolis tonight. Now, here, I've written a series of editorials. Take them with you. I want one published on page 1 of the Daily Planet every day, beginning today, and in big black type. You understand?
Yes, sir. World Peace Federation, a menace to the United States. Fought by foreign statesmen to lull America into disarming. This is pretty strong stuff, sir.
I want them to be strong. The World Peace Federation is the greatest danger my business has ever had to face. If the nations of the world get together in mutual trust and understanding and iron out their difficulties over a conference table instead of in war, I'm out of business.
Yes, I realize that. But these editorials, if you don't mind my saying so, sir, are great exaggeration.
You mean lies, don't you?
Well,
of course they're lies. Whopping big lies. The Daily Planet is one of the most respected papers in the country. If the Planet says the World Peace Federation is bad medicine, and says it often and strongly enough, a great many people will believe it. And if we can fool enough people, we'll get rid of the blasted Federation.
Well, that's true.
Of course it's true. Now, get started. I want the first editorial in today's Planet without fail.
Yes, sir.
Good night, Smith. I'll be waiting to read the Daily Planet today.
Clark, come into my office, will you? I've got to talk to you privately.
Okay, but if you want to know what I found out about Mr. White, the answer is not a solitary thing.
I know. I just spoke to Inspector Henderson. What are we going to do, Clark? Mr. Smith is
Henderson gave him a clean bill of health.
Gave whom a clean bill?
Smith.
He did.
Henderson investigated him, and it seems he's been engaged in some sort of importing business until recently when he tied up with John Grayson.
Oh?
Took him abroad a great deal. The firm's out of business now, and the record is rather vague, but Henderson hasn't been able to find a thing against Mr. Homer Smith.
Well, I don't know if Mr. Homer Smith had anything to do with the chief's disappearance, but
I'm sure he had everything to do with it, and I'll pin it on him eventually. Right now...
Right now, you can pin this on him, Clark.
What?
Just look at this galley proof of today's noon edition.
What's he done now?
Well, read that box editorial on page 1.
World Peace Federation, a menace to United States.
Oh, that's not all. Just keep reading.
Clever trap by foreign diplomats to lull U.S. into disarming while they secretly prepare for war. Great Scott, we can't print this rotten lie, Lois.
Try to stop Mr. Smith from printing it.
But
I just tried, and he told me I could resign any time I pleased. What? Oh, Clark, this is the most awful day I've ever lived through. The chief missing, and now this.
We can't print this filthy lie,
Will
Lois.
you stop saying we can't print
we
it?
can't.
We're going to print it, or Mr. Smith is in 2 hours when we go to press. And there's apparently nothing that you, nor I, nor anyone else can do to stop him.
We'll see about that.
Well, if you've got an idea, name it. I'll do anything.
There's nothing you can do. The only two persons who can stop this are Perry White and John J. Grayson.
Will you stop dreaming? The chief, heaven only knows where he is. I can't even think about him anymore without just going to pieces.
I know,
And
but...
you talked to Mr. Grayson yourself, didn't you?
Yes.
Where did that get you, except to be told that whatever Homer Smith says goes?
Yeah, that's right. Grayson is in great fear of Smith, and it's obvious that Smith has something on him.
You said that before, too, but so what?
Just this. I'm going to find Grayson wherever he is and make him tell me the truth. He's got to now. Not only Mr. White's life is at stake, but the life of the World Peace Federation, the peace of all nations. So now
stop dreaming. You've just named a job that would be a handful even for Superman.
Exactly.
What?
I mean, that's your phone, Lois.
Yes, I know. Hello? Lois Lane speaking. Who? Oh, yes, he is. Just a minute, please. It's for you, Clark.
Oh, thanks. Yes? Who? Oh, yes. What's that? Great Scott, when? Where?
What is it, Clark?
Just a moment, please. Yes, I hear you. Yes? Yes? I see. Yes, I see. Thank you.
Clark! What is it? Wait, you're so pale. What's happened? Clark, answer me.
Anxiously, Lois Lane shakes Clark Kent's arm, begging him to tell her what has happened. But Kent sits as if turned to stone, his eyes staring into space. What shocking news has he heard? We'll know more in a moment when we return for the tense climax of today's episode. So stand by.
Say, gang, will you go galloping into breakfast when you're heading for a peach roundup? That's this week's pep dish of the week, you know. Yes, sir, a peach roundup. Just about doubles the excitement of breakfast. And here's how easy it is to make. First, lay half a chilled peach in your breakfast dish, then cover it with your regular serving of Kellogg's Pep, the Sunshine cereal, and top with the other peach half, round side up. Add cool milk and sugar, and there's your peach roundup. And will you be rounding up some terrific eating when you get going on this smooth dish? Right from the start, that sunny golden pep flavor swings into the lead. Believe me, the spoon that comes up filled with Kellogg's Pep goes right back for more of the same. In double quick time, your bowl is polished off clean as a whistle, which is always a good idea, because Pep is good for you. Sure, gives you solid whole wheat nourishment plus. And it's particularly important nowadays not to waste cereal, because we're sending the cereal grains to help give good nourishment to fellows and girls all over the world. Think of that when Mom brings Kellogg's Pep home from the grocer's. Eat all your Pep. Don't waste it.
Shocked by what he has learned from a phone call just received in Lois Lane's office of the Daily Planet, Clark Kent replaces the phone and sits as if turned to stone, while Lois shakes his arm, demanding to know what has happened.
Don't just sit there, Clark. For heaven's sake, tell me what...
One chance in a million.
What?
The odds are now 1,000,000 to 1 against Mr. White and the World Peace Federation.
What are you talking about? Who was that phone call from?
It was from... Scott, what am I sitting here for? When split seconds count against 1 chance in a million, I'm delaying. Goodbye, Lois.
Wait a minute, Clark. Clark, come back here. Clark, where are you going?
This is a blow. Now the odds against finding Mr. White and saving the World Peace Federation are 1,000,000 to 1.
Adding only that split seconds counted more than ever now, Kent rushed from Lois's office without pausing to explain, and as Superman, streaked to a small boatyard about 200 miles north of Metropolis. As we continue now, once more in his guise of Clark Kent, he is speaking to a worried boatman in a little bait and tackle shack on the harbor's edge, as outside a violent storm is raging. Listen.
You say Mr. Grayson went out on the water in this storm?
Yes, sir. Done all I could to talk him out of it, I did, but he wouldn't listen, the stubborn fool.
Oh.
Wind was blowing up already and the barometer dropping fast when he put out.
Well, listen, did
Look
he say...
at that barometer, Mr. Grayson, I said to him. Look how she's dropping. Way it looks and feels to me, we're in for something mighty near a hurricane, I says. But he wouldn't listen to me.
Practically is a hurricane. I had all I could do to get through it myself. But tell me,
You
did he say...
what?
I said I hope Mr. Grayson can get through it. Now tell me...
Nope, ain't got a chance in that little boat of his'n. I already called the Coast Guard, but they can't put out in this blow.
Yes, well, look,
That's why I put that call through to Mr. Grayson's wife in Metropolis. I figured she ought to know.
Yes, Mrs. Grayson called me. But listen, please, tell me, did Mr. Grayson say which way he was going? Any place in particular? Perhaps some harbor nearby?
What difference did that make, young fella?
Well, plenty. I can't search the whole ocean.
You what, young fella?
Oh, never mind. Just answer my question. Please, did he say where he was going?
You want to know what he said?
Well, I'm doing all I can to find out. If you know, please tell me. Every second counts.
Well, I'll tell you all right. Just before he puts out, I says to him, Mr. Grayson, you listen to me. You're a good sailor, but I know these waters and these storms even better than you.
Oh, now, look,
If you take that little boat of yours out in the ocean today, there's a mighty strong chance you won't be bringing her home. And you know what he says to me then?
Oh, good heavens, Sam, if you'll only tell
Well,
me...
I'm telling you. He looks out over the harbor to where the wind is already boiling the water white over the rip. And he says, like to himself, only I can hear him, he says, I don't care if I don't get back.
Great Scott, which way did he head, Sam?
Which way? Oh, due east and a point or two south. Straight out to sea, past the long rip there.
Due east and a point or two south.
Yes, sir. Keeps running in my head how he said, hey, where you going, young fella?
I'll be seeing you.
Wait, you don't want to go out in that storm.
Wow. It does feel like a hurricane. That's not going to stop.
Superman. Nobody around. I can get out of these clothes back in the shack here. So, John Grayson doesn't care if he gets back or not, eh? Well, I know why. But I've got to bring him back. There we are. All set. Now to try to find Grayson. Up and away! Leaping up from the storm-swept beach, Superman streaks out over the wind-lashed sea into the very teeth of the howling hurricane. Farther out to sea, the gale is stronger. Fierce winds, sweeping at almost 100 miles an hour, swirl and lash at the man of steel, buffeting even his powerful body, almost blinding him with teeming rain which stings like needles, so that he has to slow his rocket-like speed and, gasping for breath, clear his eyes so that he can see the heaving, churning waters below. Onward he fights, and onward, first zigzagging through the path of the wild gale, then swinging and sweeping in wide-ranging circles over the waves, like some great storm-defying eagle, searching, as the howling wind unleashes the full force of its fury. The Superman is fighting one of his greatest battles with the elements. Lois Lane sits in her office in the Daily Planet, hundreds of miles away. Her face is hidden in her arms on the desk. She is sobbing as Jimmy Olsen enters.
Listen, Miss Lane, I want... Gosh, you're crying.
Oh, crying? No, I'm not, Jim.
You are, too, but gee, don't cry. I know how you feel, but... Well, Inspector Henderson or somebody might find Mr. White yet, and...
Sure. Of course they will, Jim.
Gosh, I feel like bawling, too, sometimes, and... Well, I wish they'd hurry up and find him, because... Well, he yelled a lot and popped off all the time, but he didn't really mean it. He was really a swell guy.
Don't, Jim. He'll be right back here running the Daily Planet and calling us names and not meaning it, and everything will be just the same as it used to be.
Only without Mr. Homer Smith, I hope.
Homer Smith. Good heavens, I forgot.
You forgot about that no-good pasty face.
No, the time. I've been so upset I didn't even look at my watch. What time is it?
4 minutes to 11. Why?
Why? We go to press at 11, and 1 hour later at noon, the Planet will be on the street with that vicious page 1 attack against the World Peace Federation.
Oh, jeepers, I forgot that, too. I was thinking about Mr. White.
Now, listen, we can't let that filthy, lying editorial be published, Jim. The Planet's a big paper. It's respected. Well, many readers will believe that editorial because it's in the Planet. They'll be wrongly influenced against the Peace Federation and against unity among nations. Why, if the Federation falls apart...
I know. We'll have another war. And the next war with atomic weapons will be just too bad.
Exactly. We've just got to stop that editorial.
Are you kidding? How are we going to stop it?
I don't know.
Without Mr. White here, Homer Smith is running things. And he says that editorial goes in right spang in the middle of page 1, so nobody can miss it.
Dear. We've got to do something. We must,
Yeah,
Jim.
but what? I even tried to see Mr. Grayson myself this morning.
Oh.
I know Mr. Kent and Mr. White talked to him, but I'm on the board of directors of the Junior Committee for the World Peace
Did you
Federation.
see Clark there?
Where?
At Mr. Grayson's.
No, I didn't get in. The butler said Mr. Grayson was out of town.
Oh, dear. That means that Clark didn't see him either. I thought when he got that phone call and rushed away that he was going to see Grayson and somehow get him to stop Mr. Smith, but... What's that?
What? Oh, that's the...
Oh, that's the insurance company clock, and it's striking 11. Your watch must be slow, Jim.
Oh, yeah,
The presses will be starting now, starting to print Smith's lying editorial. And the papers will be on the street within 1 hour. Oh, Jim, what are we going to do?
I guess we're licked, Miss Lane. There's nothing we can do now.
Helplessly, Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen look at each other, defeat in their faces. 1 hour left. 1 hour, 60 minutes, in which to stop the munitions magnates' lies from influencing people against the World Peace Federation. What will happen? We'll know in a moment when we return for the exciting climax of today's episode. So stand by.
You know, Monday's a big-time day on the Superman show because that's when we bring out a brand-new Pep Dish of the Week. A tricky new way to dress up your breakfast dish of Kellogg's Pep. So, are you ready for the big announcement? Well, here goes. This week's Pep Dish of the Week is a Pep Double Play. It's a knockout. Listen, pour half your serving of Kellogg's Pep, the Sunshine cereal, in the bottom of your bowl. Then pour on a layer of blackberries, chilled in sugar. Add the rest of your Pep, then top with cool milk, and that's a Pep Double Play. Sure makes a hit with your morning appetite. It's that double layer of Pep that peps up the berries, because Pep is crisp and crunchy and tender, and crammed with its own full, sparkling sunshine flavor. Why, Pep is such a smooth dish, you're busy spooning it up until you've finished off every last delicate flake. And that's the hep thing to do, especially nowadays when the cereal grains are being sent to fellows and girls overseas. Keep that in mind when Mom brings Kellogg's Pep home from the grocers. Eat all your Pep. Don't waste it.
As the giant presses in the Daily Planet building begin turning out the paper with its violent attack against world peace through unity among nations, Superman still battles the hurricane over the raging Atlantic Ocean, searching for a little cabin cruiser bearing John Grayson, the one man in the world who can stop the attack on the Peace Federation and lead Superman to the rescue of Perry White. Fierce blasting gales have taken their toll from even the mighty Man of Steel. He is breathing heavily now, fighting for breath as he shields his eyes from the wind-driven rain with his cape, fighting the growing weariness in his battered arms and legs.
Oh, will this hurricane ever blow out? Even I can't go on much longer. I have to rest. No. What's the use? Grayson can't be alive in this. Oh, no. He must be. He's got to be. Only the gale would let up a moment. I can't keep my eyes clear. Wait a minute. What's that down there? Looks like... No. Just a piece of... No, wait. It's a little cabin cruiser. Or what's left of it. Yes, and a man is lashed to the wheel, holding the boat into the wind. Down to that boat. Down! Now, let's see. Yes, it's Grayson. You can hardly hear his heart, but he's alive. Half alive, anyhow. Wait till I break these ropes holding into the wheel. There. Now, up with him. Back through that storm to the mainland. And pray hard he lives. Up, and away!
What can you do to bring him around, Doctor?
I've done all I can, Mr. Kent. I can't do any more without the patient's cooperation.
What do you mean?
The physician can only do so much. In order for his efforts to be successful, the patient must have a strong will to recover. But I don't believe that Mr. Grayson wants to get well.
Oh, now look, Doctor,
as a matter of fact, I'm certain of it. Do you know any reason why Mr. Grayson shouldn't want to get well?
Yes, I think I do, Doctor. He's been living in great fear recently.
Really? In fear of what?
Of a certain man, and perhaps of others. You see, his fear made him... Well, it made him betray his conscience, his friends, and his country.
Oh?
Maybe that made him so ashamed that he went out into that hurricane this morning, hoping he wouldn't come back.
Very likely. Well, that explains his lack of will. I'm afraid there's nothing more any man can do for him, Mr. Kent.
Maybe there is.
What do you mean?
Maybe I can give John Grayson a will to get well.
You?
Yes. Look, Doctor, can he hear me?
He can if he'll make the effort.
But he's got to. There's more than his life at stake here, much more, and time is running out fast. Just one thing.
Yes?
You must give me your word that whatever you hear me say must be kept in strict confidence, Doctor.
Why, of course, Mr. Kent. You can rely on me.
Thank you. Here goes, then. Mr. Grayson, listen to me. Perry White has disappeared, and the Daily Planet is beginning a campaign against the World Peace Federation. Do you hear me, Mr. Grayson? Perry White has disappeared, and your own newspaper is sabotaging the World Peace Federation. You think he hears me, Doctor?
His pulse rate is up slightly, Mr. Kent.
It is?
I think you're beginning to penetrate.
Oh, good. Listen to me, Mr. Grayson. You've got to help us find Perry White, and you mustn't stop
Urgently, Clark Kent keeps talking, trying desperately to rouse the half-conscious newspaper publisher and restore in him the will to live. Meanwhile, in Lois Lane's office at the Daily Planet, the girl reporter and Jimmy Olsen are nervously pacing the floor.
What time is it now, Jim?
11:30.
In half an hour, the Planet will be on the streets with that vicious attack against the Peace Federation. What'll we do?
We can't do anything, Miss Lane. Oh, if only Mr. Kent were here.
A lot of help he is, always, when he's needed most. He's not even around.
Well, I'm sure he's trying to do
Wait
something.
A minute, Jim. Maybe... Gosh, maybe...
Maybe what?
I think I've got an idea.
You have?
Yes, it may not work, but, well, it's worth a try. Come on with me.
Where?
Down to the press room. I want to see Boris Archenko. Because the Daily Planet has a reputation for being honest, thousands of people will believe this dirty, lying, page-one editorial against the World Peace Federation.
Sure, I know this, Miss Lane.
And if the United States doesn't support the Federation, there'll be another war, sure as you're born.
I know this too, Jim. Mr. Kent tell me, can be peace only if all countries be friends and trust each other.
That's right.
But what can Boris do?
Well, you're the foreman down here, aren't you?
Sure, I am foreman.
And, you can do anything you want with the presses and everything else, can't you?
How you mean? Hey, you mean for Boris?
Gosh, Miss Lane, you don't...
I mean we've got to stop this vicious, lying attack on the Peace Federation somehow, anyhow.
Hey, look, Boris understand, Miss Lane. Maybe can do.
You will, Boris?
I will try, but better you go upstairs quick now. Every couple minutes, Mr. Smith, he stick his nose in here.
Okay. We'll keep our fingers crossed. Come on, Jim.
Oh, there goes the insurance company clock, Miss Lane. It's 12 o'clock noon.
I know, Jim. Oh, dear.
Well, what's the matter now?
Come here to the window. See? The trucks are leaving with the noon edition.
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess that means Boris couldn't stop the presses or whatever he was going to do.
In a few minutes, 1 million copies of that terrible editorial will be on the stand.
Hiya, Jim. Lois Lane.
Oh, go away, Beanie. Whatever it is, we don't want any.
I ain't selling nothing. I'm just bringing a copy of the paper.
Well, that's what I mean. Take it away.
And get fired? Nothing doing. I got orders to put a copy of every edition on every reporter's desk, and that's what I'm doing. Here's your copy, too, Jim.
Okay.
Thanks, Beanie.
You're welcome, Miss Lane. Gee willikers, is the roof going to blow off around here pretty soon? Wow.
What do you mean?
Take a look at page 1. Boy, ain't I glad I ain't working in the press room.
What's he talking about?
Why, he's wacky. He's got a hole in the head.
Just the same. Jim, look.
Huh? What?
Smith's editorial.
Oh, I don't want to see the sleeping lizards. It's all inked out.
Jim, Boris must have done something to the rollers to ink out the editorial on the whole edition.
Hot dog, good old Boris. We stopped Mr. Smith after all.
You mean Boris did? Oh, Jim, this is wonderful.
Boris now. Nice going.
Boris, you're wonderful. You're just about the most wonderful man
You mean I'm that duck, Miss Lane?
Huh? What do you mean?
Mr. Smith come to press room just now. He say, Boris, you are a rat. You ink out editorial on purpose, no?
Uh-oh.
And I say, sure. Boris see 2 world war. You see family, friends, all killed. Not want to see more wars. Only way not have war is have World Peace Federation.
Oh,
so,
what'd he say to that?
He say, we finish Peace Federation. No one done can stop us. Then he say, mad like anything. You are fired from here, Boris. I got new foreman. You be out here in 5 minutes, or new foreman, he shoot you for trespass.
Oh,
Shoot
no.
you?
The impress room is now new foreman, 5, 6 other top fellas. All of them got guns.
Guns?
Mr. Smith say, you leave quick, Boris.
What?
He say to other pressmen, editorials must go in next edition. Anybody who try to do something funny like Boris, these fellers shoot him down like dirty dog. How do you like that, huh?
Good heavens. And the next edition goes to press in 2 hours.
And it'll have Smith's editorial on page 1. We're licked again, Miss Lane. And this time, for good.
Dismayed, Lois Lane, Jimmy Olsen, and Boris Archenko shake their heads, seeing no possible way to stop the crafty Homer Smith from sabotaging the World Peace Federation. What will happen now? We'll know in a moment when we return for the exciting climax of today's episode. So stand by.
Say, what's the lowdown on breakfast at your house? Do you eat the sort of meal that helps start your day in high? Well, here's the dope about as delish a dish as you could wish. One that'll tease your appetite so that you can hardly wait to dig in. It's Kellogg's Pep, the Sunshine Cereal. The light, crisp cereal that's a bright spot at any breakfast table. And when you pour on cool milk and sugar and start to spoon it up, what a come-on you get. Your appetite sure wakes up smiling when your spoon comes up rippling with cool, catchy flavor. Yes, sir, you can really latch onto those crisp, tender flakes of Kellogg's Pep. They're solid senders. Make breakfast the kind of meal that you're glad to get up for every morning because Pep's a smacking, whacking good. And as you spoon up all that slick Pep flavor, you get the good out of Pep's hearty whole wheat nourishment plus. So eat it all up, gang. Polish off your morning dish of Kellogg's Pep clean as a whistle. You know, nowadays, we're sending the cereal grains to help give good nourishment to fellows and girls overseas. Think of that when Mom brings Kellogg's Pep home from the grocers. You're on the beam if you eat all your Pep. Don't waste it.
In a small coastal village 100 miles from Metropolis, in the home of Dr. Agnew, Clark Kent has been trying desperately to rouse the half-conscious John Grayson, publisher of the Daily Planet. Again and again, Kent has reminded him of his great responsibilities. As we rejoin them now, a shudder runs through the publisher's body.
Look, Doctor. His eyes opened a little then, and he moved.
Yes, his pulse is getting much stronger. Coming around fine now, thanks to you, Mr. Kent.
Good.
Keep talking to him.
All right.
Don't let him lapse back into a coma.
Oh, you bet I won't. It's far too much at stake. Listen to me, John Grayson. You've got to help us find Perry White. Do you hear me, Grayson? Do you hear me?
He's trying to speak. He's conscious now.
Good. Answer me, Mr. Grayson. Do you want the responsibility for the lives of millions of men, women, and children who die in the next war? Do you?
No.
Well, then talk. Where is Perry White? Come on. Snap out of this. Quickly, tell me. Where is Perry White? Think, Mr. Grayson, think. Where is Perry
I'm afraid you're crowding the men too hard, too fast, Mr. Kent.
I'm sorry, but there's so little time, Doctor. We've got to find...
Nevertheless, it's better getting the information you want a little later than not getting it at all, isn't it?
Yes, I suppose you're right.
I am, believe me. For best results, I suggest you take it easy.
All right, Doctor, let's try it again. Look, Mr. Grayson, please listen carefully and try to understand how important...
You've got to tell me, Mr. Grayson, where is Perry White?
I don't know, Kent, I swear it.
Does Homer Smith know?
I don't know.
Look, you didn't want to make Smith your personal representative on the Daily Planet, did you?
Well,
He forced himself on you, didn't he?
Yes.
Why?
I can't tell you.
Why are you terrified of Smith? What's he got on you?
Please, Kent, stop it. I can't tell you anything.
You've got to tell me. That's the only way I can find Perry White and stop Smith's campaign to sabotage the World Peace Federation. Now talk, man, talk.
Oh, Kent, you don't know what you're asking.
I'm asking you to save the life of Perry White, a fine man and a useful American.
I'd do anything to help Perry.
And I'm asking you to save the lives of millions of men, women, and children who'll die in the next atomic war. Unless the World Peace Federation is on the job to prevent future wars.
You don't understand, Kent.
I
You
understand.
can't understand.
I understand. You're thinking of your own selfish interests. You're willing to sacrifice Perry White and the peace of the whole world.
Stop it, Kent. I can't stand it anymore. You're repeating the words my own conscience has been saying to me.
All right, I'm going to keep on repeating them.
No,
until you
no,
decide...
please. I can't stand anymore. I'll tell you what I know.
Good.
I'll tell you everything. If only it isn't too late.
Well, maybe it isn't, but talk fast.
Well, you see, Kent, during the war, my old college roommate came to see me. He'd just come back from Europe, he said, where he'd set up a relief organization for refugees driven out by the Germans.
Yes?
He'd come back to raise funds, and he counted on me for a substantial contribution. I didn't let him down.
I wouldn't expect you to, Mr. Grayson.
Thanks. A little later, he wrote me from England. He painted such frightful pictures of the poor refugees that I not only contributed more money, but I voluntarily tackled my friends for funds, which I sent on to my old roommate. We had quite a bit of correspondence. Then the war was over. But a few months ago...
Yes?
I read that Bronson, that was my old friend's name, was being tried in England for treason.
In England?
Yes. Seems that at some time after leaving college, he became a British citizen. And now he was being tried for treason, accused of spying for the Nazis.
Oh, I remember the case now. He was convicted, wasn't he?
Convicted and hanged.
Yes.
And a week or two afterwards, Homer Smith came to see me.
I think I'm beginning to get the drift of this.
Now, wait till you hear. Smith had most of the letters I'd written to Bronson, photostatic copies of the checks I'd sent his relief organization.
The organization was phony, I suppose, with money going to the Germans.
That's right. But besides the letters and checks I'd sent Bronson, Smith had a lot of other letters written on my letterhead, but for which I was not responsible.
Forgeries?
Exactly. Excellent forgeries, by the way.
I see. But what effect could they possibly...
Those letters, presumably written by me, implicated me as a Confederate of Bronson's. They made me appear a Nazi sympathizer who raised money for the German war machine.
Uh-oh, blackmail.
Yes. Smith said he would turn all this evidence over to the FBI and to the opposition newspapers unless I appointed him as my personal representative on the Daily Planet with full authority to dictate its editorial policy.
Which meant to switch the Planet from its strong support of the World Peace Federation and make us knife it in the back.
Yes, although I didn't know that until later. Heaven knows I didn't want to play ball with Smith, but that forged evidence, together with my legitimate letters and checks, made a perfect frame-up that would have convicted me. You can see I didn't have a leg to stand on.
But, Mr. Grayson, can't you see how...
I realize now I shouldn't have done it. I was being selfish, but it came so suddenly...
Well, never mind that now. We've got to work fast if we're to find Perry White and stop Smith and his crowd from cutting the Peace Federation's throat. Try to remember. Did Smith ever mention any of the men behind him?
No, but he admitted there were people behind him. Powerful men who intend to ruin the Federation.
And who stop at nothing. Blackmail, abduction, even murder in order to do it.
Yes.
Well, we'll see about that. Look, Mr. Grayson. Are you willing to cooperate with me from here on in?
I'll do anything I can to atone for what I did, Kent. Anything.
Good. Here's a fountain pen. I want you to write what I dictate.
Swiftly, Kent dictates a short note which John Grayson writes and signs. Then, leaving the newspaper publisher in the village doctor's house with careful instructions, he steps outside, resumes his true identity of Superman, and streaks back to Metropolis. A few moments later, once more in the guise and garb of Clark Kent, he enters Lois Lane's office in the Daily Planet.
Wherever have you been? Did you find out anything about the chief?
No, not yet, Lois, but
Oh, dear. Clark, the most terrible thing happened.
What?
We, or rather Boris Archenko, managed to stop the first edition from coming out with Homer Smith's editorial against the World Peace Federation.
Good for Boris.
Good nothing. It only delayed the inevitable. Mr. Smith fired poor Boris.
Uh-oh.
And our 3 o'clock edition, which goes to press in exactly 5 minutes, will carry the editorial.
Oh, no, it won't.
I tell you it will, and so will our late edition. And Smith has a new and even worse editorial for tomorrow, and ditto for the day after.
Take it easy now. Wait a minute, Lois. Those rotten lying editorials will not appear in the Daily Planet if my plan works.
What plan?
I'll explain later. Right now, I've got to see Smith. Where is he? Well, how do you like that? He's taken over the chief's office.
You knew that before. Now stop acting as if you can see through doors and walls like Superman or somebody.
It's going to be a pleasure to boot him out of that office. When and if?
When and if what? Clark, I wish you'd tell me.
Later, Lois, later. Just sit tight and keep your fingers crossed. The next few hours will tell the story. Right now, I've got to powwow with Mr. Homer Smith.
What's this, Kent?
Can't you read, Mr. Smith? It's a signed order from John Grayson, publisher of the Daily Planet, stopping all further printing of the paper until further notice.
Oh, nonsense. Ridiculous. Grayson doesn't dare do that.
He doesn't dare?
I mean, he wouldn't do it. This letter is a forgery.
I believe you're pretty familiar with Mr. Grayson's signature.
I don't care what you
Mr.
believe.
Darrow, our cashier, is also familiar with it. Shall I call in Darrow to verify it?
No. This is a forgery, I tell you, and that's all there is to it.
Oh, no, it isn't.
And it's for you, Kent. I haven't liked your attitude in the beginning. You're fired.
Easy, Mr. Smith.
You get out of here.
Sorry, but Mr. Grayson delegated me to deliver this letter to you and to see that no further edition of the Planet is printed today. And that's exactly what
yes? Now, look, Kent. You're asking for trouble. Take my advice. Clean out your desk and leave the building as fast as you can.
Thanks for the advice. But I'm not having any.
I'm warning you.
Thanks again. For nothing. I intend to see that no further edition of the Planet is published today.
All right. You've had your say, now I'll have mine. It's exactly 1 minute before 2 o'clock. In 1 minute, our presses will begin turning out the first evening edition. And not you nor anyone else can stop them.
That's what you think.
I know. And I know something else which you don't, Mr. Kent.
Yes? What's that?
I'm going down to the press room now. You care to, come along and you'll find out.
Good.
But I strongly advise you not to come.
I'll take my chances. Let's go.
Very well. It's your funeral, Kent.
With a floating smile playing on his thin lips, Homer Smith leaves Perry White's office, closely followed by Clark Kent. What will happen in the press room? We'll return in a moment to find out. So stand by.
Say, you want to go prospecting for gold these summery vacation days? Well, then, just breeze up to your breakfast bowl of Kellogg's Pep, the Sunshine cereal, and see how your spoon comes up rippling with golden, catchy flavor. Believe me, Pep's as good as gold when it comes to sharpening the edge of your morning appetite. Makes you want to hitch up your chair and settle down to the soup sort of breakfast that wins by a cool mile. Is this whole wheat flake cereal crisp? Is it tender? Is it delicate and light? Does breakfast get the glad eye when Kellogg's Pep heads the menu? And do you get a swell surprise when you see the nifty prize in each Pep package? A real surprise of a prize. Could be you'll find a model Allied fighting plane in colored cardboard, one of 7 great Pep planes you can collect. Or could be you'll find one of 24 new full-color bird pictures with a full description on the reverse side so you can identify these birds in the air. Or could be your next Pep prize is one of 18 bright-colored comic buttons sporting a famous funnies character like Orphan Annie or Moon Mullins or Superman himself. So start collecting all 3 kinds of these keen Pep prizes. Today, ask Mom to bring Kellogg's Pep from the grocer first thing.
Clark Kent and Homer Smith have just arrived in the Daily Planet press room, where the great printing machines tended by overalled pressmen have begun rolling out the huge first evening edition. As Smith enters a step ahead of Kent, he raises a hand. At once, several hard-faced men step away from the walls and surround Kent. Each of them holds a submachine gun in his hands. A sneer on his face, Smith says,
These men are working for me, Kent. They'll do exactly as I say.
Meaning?
I have just fired you. Since you are no longer employed by us, you are trespassing on these premises. You take one more step into the press room or even raise your voice to the men at the machines, my men will shoot you. You understand, boys?
Yeah, we'll take care of him.
Well, Kent, what have you got to say now? Do you still think you can stop me from printing the next edition of the Daily Planet?
Looks as if you've got me, Smith.
I'm glad you're smart enough to see it. Make yourself comfortable. The press run will be over in an hour.
You mean you're going to keep me here, a prisoner?
I'm going to keep you here to prevent any monkey shine, such as occurred before. When the press run is over, you can go.
But look here.
Sit down. And don't try anything funny. If you want to stay healthy.
Pretending to be resigned to his fate, Kent sits down on the concrete floor, his back against the massive clattering press. Then, unnoticed by Smith and his gunmen, he tenses his powerful muscles, leans back slowly. There is a heavy scraping sound unnoticed in the noisy press room. Kent hunches his back again, feels the great 5-ton press machine slide several inches from its anchorage. The moving of the giant press snaps a power line leading from the central generator, short-circuiting it. Instantly, as the power fails, the great room is plunged into darkness, and the presses and linotype machines clatter to a stop.
Don't move, Kent.
Me? Of course not, Mr. Smith.
Turn the lights on. Turn them on, I say. Donovan. Where's Donovan?
No, for a fast Superman job. Up over their heads. Up.
Springing over the heads of Homer Smith and his milling guards, Superman, still in his guise of Clark Kent, lands alongside the number 2 press. In the darkness, he almost grazes the puzzled workman there as he grasps the giant machine and swings it 6 inches out of position. Then he turns and drags a huge linotype machine a foot from its anchorage, moves to the next press, and the next, and the next.
There we are. These presses won't work until they're moved back into line, and since each one weighs several tons, that'll take all day and all night. Uh-oh. Donovan's hooking up emergency lighting from the casting room. Back to my little playmates.
What's holding up those lights, Donovan?
Half a minute, Mr. Smith. There you are. Well, mother of mercy. I never seen nothing like this in all me born days.
What is it? What's the matter, Donovan? Why don't you get the presses going again?
Look for yourself, man. Them presses, each one weighing 5 tons of it weighs an ounce. All of them moved half a foot or more out of line. Tell me now, how could such a thing as that happen?
Well, what's the difference? Get them going again. We've got a paper to get out.
You won't get out no paper today, Mr. Smith.
We must.
It can't be done. Excepting if the same miracle that moved these presses out of line moves them back again.
But the paper must be printed, I tell you.
And I tell you it can't be, not today.
And tomorrow will be too late.
What do you mean, Kent?
Try to figure it out. Toodaloo, Mr. Smith.
Wait. Where are you going?
Oh, I'm going bye-bye. As practically anyone will tell you, I'm really much too delicate to help you move those huge machines. I'll be seeing you. So long.
Leaving the infuriated Homer Smith, Kent steps from the darkened confusion of the press room into an alley. There, swiftly resuming his true identity of Superman, he streaks 200 miles north through the doctor's house in the little village where he had left John Grayson, publisher of the Planet.
Hello, Mr. Grayson.
Why, it's Superman.
That's right. I'm, pinch hitting for Clark Kent at the moment, you might say.
I'm glad you're here. I didn't get a chance to thank you for saving my life today.
No time for that now. We've got to move fast if we're to find Perry White and the blackmailers and murderers who are trying to wreck the World Peace Federation.
I suggest we have Smith arrested. Then the police can find plenty of evidence against him and whoever is behind him.
Maybe. But so far, they haven't been able to pin a thing on him. Neither have I. If we arouse Smith's suspicions, they'll all get away. And that, unless I miss my guess, will mean the end of Perry White.
You think Perry is still alive?
Yes, I do. Only stupid men would do away with an important person like Mr. White unless they had to. And these men, whoever they are anything but stupid.
I hope you're right. But if we can't arrest Smith, how are we going to find the rascals behind him?
I've got a plan. Smith is worried by your letter suspending publication of the Daily Planet. He may be a little suspicious, too. At any rate, he's sure to contact you.
Yes?
I want you to insist on a personal interview with him, preferably at your house.
At my house?
Yes.
Why?
Well, I'll tell you later. Right now,
if he's suspicious, as you say, he may refuse.
I don't think he will. Tell Smith you're not well and that you don't want to discuss the matter over the phone. We'll have another story cooked up for him when he gets there. The important thing is to get him to your house. I'll take it from there.
What do you mean?
Well, I'll have to explain that later, too. Right now, we've got to get back to Metropolis. I arranged for Smith to be busy in the press room for a little while, but he'll be calling you any minute. You've got to be at home when he calls.
But we're several hours away from Metropolis.
No, Mr. Grayson. Just a few seconds.
What?
You're going by Superman Express.
Oh, you mean...
Come on, Mr. Grayson. Everything depends on getting Smith to your house. So up with you like that. And out through that window. So. Now. Up and away!
Leaping through the window with John Grayson in his arms, Superman streaks away toward Metropolis. What is his plan? And will it work? We'll know more in a moment when we return for the climax of today's episode. So stand by.
Say, you want to know a breakfast treat that wins by a cool mile these summer days? It's Kellogg's Pep, the Sunshine cereal. So light and cheerful in your dish, it practically flashes you a grin. One look at a bowl of Pep, and you can hardly wait to hitch up your chair and begin. And talk about flavor. Why, right off, Pep's keen, catchy flavor starts its solid sending. Not to mention how crisp and tender Kellogg's Pep is. Believe me, gang, here's a dish that's strictly on the terrific side. And Pep's a prize package in still another way. I mean those keen Pep prizes. Because right inside your next package, maybe you'll find a bright-colored comic button picturing one of your favorite comic strip characters. There are 18 of these buttons to collect and to wear on your jacket or beanie cap. Or maybe you'll find a bird picture in brilliant full color with a full description on the reverse side. Collect all 24 of them and surprise the gang by your knowledge of these birds wherever you happen to spot them. Or maybe your Pep prize will be one of the 7 exciting colored cardboard plane models, easy and fun to put together. All 3 kinds of Pep prizes are top-notch collector's items. So get busy right away. Ask Mom to get you a package of Pep, made by Kellogg's.
Late that afternoon, as twilight falls over the magnificent island estate of Rufus Pelly, the munitions magnate angrily paces his circular glass-walled turret study atop his great rock mansion overlooking the sea. In a chair, looking like an anxious accountant, Homer Smith watches Pelly pause in his panther-like pacing to replenish his coffee cup from the ever-present silver thermos bottle on a table. He drains the cup at a gulp, then lashes out at his companion.
I ought to break your neck.
Now, wait,
Smith.
Mr. Pelly.
I counted on 1 million copies of the Daily Planet carrying out attack on the World Peace Federation today. But you let me down.
It wasn't my fault.
Didn't I tell you 100 smaller papers all over the country, subscribers to the Planet's news service, would reprint our editorial from the Planet? That means millions of people would read the attack on the Peace Federation.
Yes, I know that, sir, but...
But you failed! You miserable fool! Don't you realize that the Peace Federation must be discredited? Wrecked? If it succeeds in bringing nations together over a conference table in friendship, there won't be any wars. And without wars, my munitions industries are worthless.
I understand, Mr. Pelly. If you just let me explain...
Explain what? How somebody made a fool of you and moved the Planet presses out of position so you couldn't print today's paper.
Can't understand how that happened. Those presses weigh several tons apiece. It would take a gang of men several hours to move them out of line. And I had my own guards in the press room with guns.
Somebody obviously tricked your stupid guards or bribed them. Probably that reporter, Clark Kent.
I don't believe it. It's impossible.
Rubbish! You slipped up there, Smith. And you slipped up with John Grayson. Else how would he dare write you a letter to stop publishing the Planet until further notice?
I don't know, sir.
You don't know, you stupid idiot. You mean you haven't talked to him yet?
Please, Mr. Pelly, one moment. Of course I talked to him,
Well,
but...
what did he say?
He said he couldn't explain over the telephone. He wants me to call on him this evening.
This evening?
Yes, he said he wasn't well, but when I tried to phone him earlier this morning, I was told he wasn't at home. Sounds a little fishy. That fellow, Kent, sir, he seems very, mild, but I believe he's quite clever.
Well, he may suspect you had something to do with Perry White's disappearance and persuaded Grayson to try to trap you.
Yes, sir, that occurred to me. I'm sure Kent is working with the police, too. They searched my room while I was out.
There was nothing there?
Of course not.
If Kent is really clever, he'll figure you're acting for someone else. He and the police might even hope that you'll come here after you leave Grayson, and they can trail you. No, you must not go to Grayson's house tonight, Smith.
Then what'll we do? Unless we scare him into line again, we can't print the Planet tomorrow.
We'll take care of Grayson and print the Planet tomorrow and every other day until we succeed in finishing the World Peace Federation.
But how?
I know how. So Kent and the police are laying a little trap for me, eh? Well, I'll teach them something about traps. And I'll teach Grayson, too.
Now, when Homer Smith phones in again, you insist that he come here to see you, Mr. Grayson. Tell him the story we arranged, and I'm sure he'll go directly to the people he's working for.
And we follow him, eh, Kent?
Right, Inspector. We follow him to the man behind this dirty plot.
But Kent is unaware that Rufus Pelly, the cruel and cunning man who makes millions by supplying the munitions of war, has anticipated his trap and laid plans of his own with Homer Smith. As we continue now in John Grayson's library, Inspector Henderson is growing impatient as the grandfather clock strikes 7.
This looks like a washout, Kent. I don't think Smith is going to call.
I'm sure he will, Inspector.
Well, I spoke to him this afternoon and said I wanted to see him. He said he'd call back.
Yeah, then why hasn't he? It's 7 o'clock.
Well, patience, Inspector, patience.
Oh, patience, my eye. This is what happens when amateurs try to play detective.
Now, look.
If Smith did have anything to do with Perry White's disappearance,
I'm certain
the
he did.
chances are all your shenanigans tipped him off that you suspect him. By this time, he's probably flown the coop.
No. Smith isn't a petty crook who scares easily and runs away. He knows his tracks are well covered, and he's working for people who are playing for big stakes. The wrecking of the World Peace Federation. Do you think men who don't hesitate at blackmail, abduction, and even murder scare easily?
Well, I've seen plenty of big-time criminals who didn't hesitate at anything until they felt the hot breath of the law on their necks. Then they turned yellow and ran for their lives.
Well, that may be true, but unless I'm very wrong, Inspector, this is a different breed of criminal from any you've ever encountered. We're going after criminals who want mass murder. War.
Yeah? Who says so?
I do. Look at the lengths they've gone to in order to sabotage the Peace Federation. The only organization that can prevent war. Why, they've blackmailed Mr. Grayson here, publisher of one of the greatest papers in the country, abducted its editor, murdered a taxi driver.
Okay, don't go into all that again.
Well,
I think Kent's right, Inspector.
Well, maybe. But that's all the more reason you two shouldn't have monkeyed with Smith without police help. You, Grayson, should have come to me the moment Smith went to work on you.
Yes, Inspector, I suppose so, but... Well, frankly, I was scared. That evidence Smith manufactured would have put me on trial as a traitor. It was so well framed that I'd probably have been convicted. That would kill my wife.
I see.
Now, don't you worry, Mr. Grayson. I've got a hunch we're going to clear up the whole mess tonight. Uh-oh.
Yeah. Maybe that's Smith now.
Now, wait a minute. You know what you're to say to him now.
Yes, I know. I'm to get him out here.
Right.
And hold the phone a little away from your ear so Kent and I can hear.
All right. Hello?
Grayson?
Yes, is this?
Homer Smith.
It's him, I tell you.
Oh, yes, Mr. Smith. As I told you this afternoon, I have something very important to discuss with you. If you could possibly come out here this evening.
I know. I called to tell you I'm sorry, but I'm busy this evening.
But this is very important.
Look, Grayson, you appointed me your personal representative with full authority to govern the policy of the Daily Planet, and that's that. It's too late to change your mind now. So I'm disregarding that letter you sent with Kent today.
Oh, but listen. Oh, look here, Smith. I'm still the publisher of the Planet. I can fire you at any time, you know.
Don't try to bluff me, Grayson. I don't bluff easily. Goodbye.
Wait. Smith, wait. Oh, he hung up.
So he was going to fall into your trap, eh, Kent?
Don't get it.
He was going to come out here, listen to a cock and bull story, then lead us straight to his gang in Perry White, huh?
This looks bad, Kent.
I don't understand it.
Well, it's as plain as the nose on your face. Smith thinks Mr. Grayson is too scared of a trial for treason to stand in his way.
But if Grayson was still that scared, he wouldn't have sent Smith that letter today, ordering him to suspend publication of the Planet until further notice.
Well, he figures that was strictly a bluff.
Which it was.
How could he think that when Grayson deliberately defied him? And when he didn't knuckle under to him on the phone just now? No, this doesn't add up, Inspector. It just doesn't. Smith should be out here like a shot. Or at least tell Grayson to come to his place and then try to scare him into submission again. No. Something's very wrong here.
Yes, it does seem strange.
Then, what do you suggest we do?
I've got to think this out. Smith has something up his sleeve. I'm sure of it. Uh-oh.
I'll answer it this time.
No, wait a minute, Inspector. It might be Smith again. Let Mr. Grayson answer.
Well, all right.
Go ahead, Mr. Grayson.
Hello?
Is Mr. Clark Kent there, please?
Mr. Kent? Why, yes, just a minute. It's for you, Kent.
Me? Must be Jim Olson or Lois. They're the only ones who know where I am. Thanks, Mr. Grayson. Hello?
Mr. Kent?
Yes? Who is this?
Dr. Arnold at the Flower Ridge Hospital.
Oh, yes, Dr. Arnold. What is it?
We have a Miss Lois Lane here.
Miss Lane? What happened?
What is it, Kent?
She was in an accident.
An accident? Great Scott.
Miss Lane in an accident?
Uh-oh.
Yes, we found your name in her wallet and telephoned the Daily Planet. A young man named James Olson told us where to reach you.
Well, is she hurt seriously, Doctor?
Well, I'd rather not discuss her condition over the telephone, Mr. Kent. I'd suggest that you get down here right away.
I'll be there at once. Thank you, Doctor.
What about Miss Lane?
Lois was in an accident. She's at the Flower Ridge Hospital. I've got to go there at once.
Oh, that's too bad.
I'll drive you over, Kent.
No, you'd better stay here, Inspector. Smith might call...
Mr. Grayson will be here if Smith calls again, which I doubt. And the hospital is on the way back to headquarters. Come on.
Miss Lois Lane was brought into your hospital this evening. What room is she in, please?
Miss Lane, did
yes,
you say?
Hurry, please, Doctor.
There's no Miss Lane brought in here today.
What? But she was. I just had a phone call from Dr. Arnold. He said Miss Lane had been in an accident.
She must have been taken to another hospital, then.
Oh, no, Dr. Arnold said the Flower Ridge...
This is the Flower Ridge Hospital, and I'm Dr. Gibbs, the admitting physician. But I assure you, gentlemen, we have no Miss Lane in this hospital.
Are you sure?
Well, yes, I'm certain. What's more, there's no Dr. Arnold connected with this hospital.
Startled, Clark Kent and Inspector Henderson stare at the admitting physician and then at each other. What does this mean? We'll know more in a moment when we return for the startling climax of today's episode. So stand by.
You know, gang, in summer especially, it's a good idea to be an eager beaver about breakfast. Because if you don't eat right in the morning, how can you feel like cramming all the fun you'd like into each vacation day? So tomorrow morning, just breeze up to a dish of Kellogg's Pep, the Sunshine cereal. See how Pep, with cool milk and sugar, tickles your taste, puts your appetite in the mood to eat. Just get that lively Pep flavor, a golden toasted flavor. Get the cool crispness of each light whole wheat flake. And get those swell Pep prices. Yes, sir, those swell surprise prices. Because you can never tell which kind of a prize you'll find in your next package of Pep. For instance, you may find an exciting colored cardboard model of an Allied plane, easy and fun to assemble. There are 7 model planes you can collect. Or you may find one of a great new series of 24 bird pictures with a description on the reverse side to help you identify each of these birds when you see it. Or your next pep prize may be a bright-colored comic button with a famous character out of the funnies. One of 18 keen buttons to wear on your beanie cap or jacket. So hop to it, gang. Get busy collecting all 3 kinds of these wonderful prizes. Ask Mom to get you a package of Kellogg's Pep next time she goes shopping.
At the Flower Ridge Hospital, Clark Kent and Inspector Henderson have just been told that Lois Lane is not a patient there, despite a phone call Kent had received. Moving away from the admitting physician's desk, Henderson says,
This is strange, Kent.
It certainly is, Inspector. I can't understand. Great Scott.
What's the matter?
I just thought of something. Look, Inspector, you get back to John Grayson's house as quickly as you can. I'll meet you there.
Grayson's house? What for?
I've got a hunch there's trouble. I'll verify it in a moment. Then I'll meet you at Grayson's.
Yes, but what do you
want? For heaven's sake, don't stop to ask questions now. Get out there as soon as you can.
Rushing from the hospital, Clark Kent steps behind a dark hedge, strips off his business suit, and stands revealed in the blue costume and red cape of Superman. Then, up, and away! Leaping up from the hospital grounds, Superman streaks through the evening skies, suddenly checks his flight above Lois Lane's apartment house, his keen eyes searching below.
There's Lois in her apartment, speaking on the telephone. I thought so. Away to John Grayson's house. Away!
Yes? Oh, Mr. Kent.
Where's Mr. Grayson, Phillips?
He was taken away, sir.
Taken away? By whom?
By 2 police officers.
Police officers?
Yes, sir. They showed me their badges when I answered the doorbell.
Yes?
I let them in, and they told Mr. Grayson he was under arrest.
Arrest?
Mr. Grayson asked why and demanded to see their warrant.
Yes?
But they produced their revolvers instead and insisted that he accompany them in their car.
Was it a police car?
Why, I suppose there was a... Good heavens. I just remembered, Mr. Kent.
What?
Our police cars are painted blue and cream. This car was maroon.
I was afraid of this. Did they take Mr. Grayson away in a police car?
Why, yes, they... Good heavens. I just remembered, Mr. Kent.
What?
Our police cars are painted blue and cream.
Yes?
This car was maroon.
Uh-oh. What make car was it? Did you notice?
No, sir, I didn't. I was so upset, you see.
Well, did you notice whether it was a sedan or a coupe?
Well, it was a sedan. I remember that.
Maroon sedan, eh? All right, now think carefully, Phillips. Which way did the car turn when it left the driveway?
To the left, sir.
Are you sure?
Yes, sir. I stood outside the door here looking after it. When it reached the foot of the lane below our grounds, it turned left into River Drive.
Good for you. Now get this. I want you to phone police headquarters at once.
Yes, sir.
Tell them what happened. Describe the car and tell them I suggest they put out an alarm for it at once. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay, hurry now. Go into the house and call headquarters at once.
Yes, sir.
Now to get out of these clothes. Uh-oh, here comes Henderson's car. I better see him as Superman, I guess. Back of these bushes and out of these street clothes. Henderson and I will have to work fast. And if I'm right, we'll break this case tonight or never. There we are, all set. And just in time. Here's Henderson. Inspector!
Oh, who's that, Kent?
Great Jehoshaphat. Superman.
That's right. Listen, Inspector.
Hey, what are you doing here? What happened?
Well, Mr. Grayson was taken away in a car by 2 men.
What?
While you and I... while you and Clark Kent were at the Flower Ridge Hospital. My hunch says they were Homer Smith's men.
Why, sure. That phony call about Miss Lane was to get Kent and me away from the house so they could grab Grayson.
Yes, and force him to let them use the Daily Planet to sabotage the World Peace Federation.
Now, wait a minute. How did you know about all this?
I've been in closer touch with this case than you know, Inspector. And I'm convinced this whole rotten business is a plot against the Peace Federation. So I'm doing everything I can to make the Federation succeed.
Oh, well, go on. You say Grayson was taken away?
In a maroon sedan. It turned left on River Drive. I'm going after it. You want to come along?
You bet I do. Oh, just wait till I radio headquarters and get an alarm out for that car.
I've already taken care of that. Come on, up under my arm.
You mean I'm going to fly with you?
Right, and without a parachute. You want to back out?
Are you kidding? I'm ready whenever you are.
Okay, here we go then. Up, and away!
Boy, talk about your rocket planes. When you travel, you really go places, Superman.
Faster than a patrol car, eh, Inspector?
That's a joke, son. See anything of a maroon sedan?
No, not yet.
Do you see it yet?
No.
Then why are you slowing?
That's the Metropolis Bridge down there.
So what?
Well, the bridge is at least 30 minutes from Mr. Grayson's house by fast car. And there are police officers on it. I don't think our friends would stay with a maroon sedan that long.
Why not?
Well, they know that as soon as you and Kent got to the hospital and learned you'd been tricked, you'd go back to Grayson's house, find out what happened, and put out an alarm for them.
Yeah, that makes sense. They probably had another car waiting for them someplace. They ditch the maroon sedan and go on the other car.
Right. But if they've already swapped cars, they didn't do it on River Drive.
Well, how do you know?
Because I examined every car we passed and didn't see Mr. Grayson.
Oh, then where do we go from here?
Well, there are only 3 highways intersecting River Drive between Grayson's house and the bridge.
Only 3?
That's right.
Well, how do you expect
You
we're
forget
gonna...
I can move pretty fast. We'll sweep over those highways for 15 or 20 miles in each direction. If there's a car on any of them with John Grayson in it, take my word that we'll find it. Hang on. Now you're really going to see some speed. Away!
Carrying Inspector Henderson, Superman streaks back above River Drive, then angles off the first highway to sweep above it for 20 miles, then back in the other direction for another 20 miles. Then he repeats this procedure over the second highway and over the third. When he fails to spot a car carrying Publisher Grayson, he begins to range in great circles, flashing over side lanes and little-used roads. But after 2 hours, his search is still fruitless. But meanwhile, on the magnificent island estate of Rufus Pelly, the munitions magnate has just pushed John Grayson and Perry White into the circular glass-walled turret study atop the great stone house on the sea. Grayson's face is cut and bruised. His clothing is torn, but his jaw is set as stubbornly as is Perry White's. Seated in a deep chair, Pelly looks up at them coldly.
Now, gentlemen...
Now, you look here, Pelly. You can't get away with this, holding me a prisoner, abducting John Grayson. Those are capital offenses, and you'll go to the chair for it just as sure as my name is Perry White.
Please, Mr. White, you're very tiresome.
No, I'm tiresome, am I? Well, let me tell you...
You tell me nothing. You've each had 15 minutes to consider my proposition. What's your answer?
You call that a proposition? Why, you money-greedy rat, you cold-blooded murderer. If you think you can make me knuckle under...
Shut up.
Oh, you big gorilla.
Cowards. Easy, Mr. Grayson. Next time, you go won't be so gentle.
By George Pelly, you and your gorilla are both going to...
Sit down, White. Oh, stop being a fool. Now, gentlemen, my time is limited. You, Mr. Grayson, I told you that I purchased all outstanding shares in the Daily Planet. I now own 49% of the stock. If you sell me 2 more shares, I'll own the controlling interest.
Why, you...
In exchange for that, I'll guarantee you and White your freedom.
Don't listen to him, John. He's bluffing. He knows if we get out of here, we'll send him to the chair.
Not at all. My tracks are well covered. I'll say you came here of your own free will to arrange the sale of the Daily Planet. You have my word that I'll release you the moment I have those 2 shares of stock.
Your word? You think we're fools enough to take the word of a warmonger, a cold-blooded murderer? You want the planet so that you can sabotage the World Peace Federation, the only hope in the world for peace.
Right. You want more wars so you can make more dirty millions out of selling munitions.
No, let him alone, Hugo. Of course I want wars, Mr. White. There will always be wars, and my business
There doesn't have to be wars. Not if we'll all get together, all of us in all countries, and talk our differences over in mutual trust and friendship. The World Peace Federation stands for that, and not you nor any other mass murderer is going to sabotage it.
Right, Perry. I was a fool to let this man scare me in the first place. I'm with you all the way now.
Good for you, John.
Have you forgotten, Mr. Grayson, that I still have all the letters and checks and the forged documents, which, if turned over to the FBI, will indict you as a traitor to your country?
Go ahead and turn them over. I'll take my chances in the court of justice.
That's telling him, John.
Is that your final answer, Grayson?
That's my final answer. I won't sell out the Peace Federation to try to save my own skin.
Very well, gentlemen. I'm sure Mrs. Grayson will sell me 2 shares of stock from her widow's estate to keep her dead husband from being branded a traitor in every newspaper in the country.
Why, you... Her dead husband?
Exactly, sir. You see, you and Mr. White have both just signed your own death warrants. Take them away, Hugo.
Pale but unflinching, Perry White and John Grayson obey the giant Hugo's gesture to precede him through the door. We'll learn what happens in a moment when we return for the exciting climax of today's episode. So stand by.
You know, if every home in the country could be wired for sound these summer mornings, you'd hear a big chorus of compliments come breakfast time from the thousands of homes where Kellogg's Pep heads the menu. Things like, "Gee, Mom, is this super?" Or, "Brother, Pep wins by a cool mile." Because Kellogg's Pep with cool milk and sugar is that kind of dish, those flakes of pep are crisp and light, all golden to look at, and full up with keen sunshine flavor. A golden toasted flavor that brings your appetite wide awake in a jiffy. And say, speaking of wide awake, will your eyes open wide when you see the exciting prize in every pep package. A prize that's always a swell surprise. For instance, could be a model fighting plane in colored cardboard, one of 7 great pep planes you can collect. Or could be one of 24 new full-color bird pictures with a description on the reverse side so you can identify these birds in the air. Or could be one of 18 bright-colored comic buttons picturing a famous funnies character like Smokey Stover or Smitty or even Superman. So, gang, start collecting all 3 kinds of these wonderful pep prizes. Today, ask Mom to bring home Kellogg's Pep, the Sunshine cereal.
As Rufus Pelly was condemning Perry White and John Grayson to death, Superman, carrying Inspector Henderson, is still searching for them from the air. Twice they have contacted police headquarters to discover that the maroon sedan in which John Grayson was taken from his house has not yet been found. Now they are hovering above a narrow, dark street which has only a few houses on it and which ends at the river.
We might as well face it, Superman. Those fellows got away with Grayson.
Afraid you're right, Inspector. What happened to their maroon sedan? They must have left it someplace nearby. They wouldn't have risked driving more than a few minutes in it.
Well, my men will pick it up eventually.
We can't wait. That car is our only clue to Grayson and Perry White. And if we don't find them tonight, I don't think we'll ever find them.
I shouldn't have listened to Kent this afternoon.
Why?
I should have picked up Homer Smith. He knows where White is. Now Healy says he can't be found either.
I don't think you'd have gotten anything out of Smith. He's a smooth article. If only... Wait a minute. Let's have a look at that.
What? Hey, where are you going?
The guardrail at the end of the street is broken. See?
Where?
Over there.
Oh, yeah. Hey, if any car had crashed through that, well, it would just be too bad. The next stop is the river.
That's just what I'm thinking. Yes, there it is.
Huh? There what is?
There's a car at the bottom of the river, Inspector. A sedan. And I think it's the one we're looking for. There you are, Inspector.
Great Lucifer, Superman. Why, you brought that car up from the bottom of the river as if it were a feather.
Never mind that now. Look, it's a maroon sedan. Same kind of a car John Grayson was taken away in.
Uh-huh. Let's have a look inside.
Look out. You'll get a bath if you open that door. The car's full of water.
Yeah, but what if
There's nobody in it, don't worry. What's more, nobody was in it when it crashed through the guardrail.
Yeah, how do you know?
Well, the windows and doors are closed. Even if anyone could have opened a door underwater, he couldn't have closed it again.
Oh, then what do you think happened?
My guess is that another car was waiting here, to which Mr. Grayson was transferred. Then this car was sent to the bottom of the river to throw pursuers off the trail.
Could be. But we're not sure this is the car they used.
I'm sure enough, Inspector.
Well, even if you're right, this doesn't help us much. The water must have washed away any possible clues by now.
Not all of them. The water didn't wash away 2 clues.
2 clues? What? Where?
Right in front of your eyes, Inspector. The license plates and the factory number on the engine block. Let's see. It's H35...
Oh, wait a minute, Superman. I'm surprised at you.
Why?
You don't think those guys used their own car, do you? If this is the sedan they used, the chances are 1,000 to 1 they stole it.
Not necessarily, Inspector. As a matter of fact, I don't think they did.
Well, I'll prove it to you. Come on back to headquarters, and we'll look up the owner of this maroon job.
Just what I was going to suggest. You got the license number?
You bet.
Good. Get set for a fast trip.
I'm all set.
Here goes. Next stop, headquarters. Up, up, and away!
What did I tell you, Superman? Here's a report on a stolen maroon sedan. Came in about an hour ago.
I see. Everything check on it?
Yep. License number, motor number, same as the car you pulled out of the river. Here, see for yourself.
Uh-huh. It's the same, all right.
Sure, I told you it was stolen. We know from experience that crooks usually steal a car for an important job, so if they're spotted, well, they can't be traced to them.
Right. But usually they abandon it. They don't go to all the time and trouble of dumping it into the river, do they?
Well, no. I'll admit I can't figure out why these fellas did that.
I can. It was their own car.
Oh, nonsense. I tell you, Superman, I've dealt with plenty of criminals. And
they wouldn't risk using a stolen car, not these criminals. Suppose the theft was discovered and reported at once. Their men might be caught in the car, and the brains behind the plot could then be traced.
True. But why dump the car in 60 feet of water, where the chances are all against its being found, and then report the theft?
Simply because they're clever, Inspector. They're always thinking one step ahead. You see, if by any chance the car were found, their skirts would be clean because they'd already reported to the police that it had been stolen.
Yeah, I suppose that does make sense, but
Tell me, who's the owner of the car according to the registration?
Let's see. Oh, yes, here it is. Fellow named Paul Brower.
Paul Brower.
Yeah, occupation, owner of a gasoline station.
Gasoline station?
That's right. He apparently runs a gas station in New Beacon. That's about 20 miles up the coast.
Yes, I know.
So there goes your theory, Superman. I can hardly see the operator of a small-town gas station behind a big plot to sabotage the World Peace Federation. Can you?
No, but...
But what?
I suggest we go to see Mr. Paul Brower, Inspector.
Why? Why, it's a waste of time.
Maybe yes, maybe no. Anyhow, since it's the only lead we have, there's nothing to lose. Come on.
As Superman and Inspector Henderson start for the gasoline station, Editor Perry White and John Grayson seem to have reached the end of their rope. We're at a concrete dock below Rufus Pelly's huge island home. A long, sleek speedboat lays to in the moonlight, its powerful motors purring. A line trailing from its stern is made fast to a rowboat, in which, tied hand and foot and gagged, lie Perry White and John Grayson. Hugo, a huge, powerfully built man, stands at the wheel of the speedboat and listens carefully as Rufus Pelly, in beautifully cut riding breeches and silk shirt, gives him his orders from the dock.
Tow them 3 or 4 miles out, Hugo. Well beyond the third harbor buoy.
Yes, sir, Mr. Paley.
Then cast off. When you put about 100 yards of water between yourself and them, press that white button, which will release the radio beam.
Yes, sir. What'll happen then?
The beam will set off the explosive in that cylinder in the bow of the rowboat.
Will the boat explode?
If all goes well, there won't be enough left to the boat, White and Grayson, to put in a thimble.
Holy smokes.
All right. Get going now, Hugo. I'll be up in my study with the binoculars to personally witness the explosion. So let nothing go wrong.
No, sir.
Goodbye, you two fools. When you wake up in the next world, tell them to make room for the Peace Federation. I'll send that along after you.
His cruel eyes gleaming with savage amusement, Rufus Pelly watches as the speedboat towing Perry White and John Grayson surges out into his private harbor. Then he turns and enters the small elevator which rises through the rock to his great house above. Meanwhile, Superman, the long raincoat of Inspector Henderson's covering his costume, has arrived with the inspector at a small marine gasoline station on the bay of New Beacon. Henderson is questioning Paul Brower, the stocky, carroty-haired proprietor.
You say your car was stolen this evening, Brower?
That's right, Inspector. I had to be in Metropolis on business. When I came out of the house of a fellow who was loaning me some money, my car was gone. I called the police right away. Then this fella, the one I was getting a loan from, he drove me back here.
Uh-huh. Who is this man, the one you were with?
Harry Johnson. Lives at 314 Locust Street.
Well, it sounds straight enough to me. Any questions you want to ask, Mr. Jones?
Just one or two, Inspector. Tell me, Mr. Brower, did this Mr. Johnson give you the money you wanted?
Oh, sure. He's an old friend of mine.
Was it a large loan?
Well, no, not very. $1,000 is all. You see, I wanted to make some repairs to my wharf. I service the fishing and pleasure boats around here.
$1,000, eh? Wonder if you'd mind showing us Mr. Johnson's check, or the cash.
What for?
Hey, what's the idea?
Oh, I've got a reason. Do you have any objections to showing us the check, or the bills?
You see, Johnson didn't exactly give me the money yet.
You said he did.
Well, he said he would. He's going to mail it to me tomorrow.
Now, listen, mister.
Never mind, Inspector, never mind. We've got to go now. Thanks very much, Mr. Brower.
Hey, wait a minute.
Yeah, well...
Come on.
Wait, I said. Let go of my arm.
Inspector, don't argue.
Hey, what's the idea, Superman? Why'd you pull me out of there? Couldn't you see that fellow was lying?
Of course I could, but I didn't want him to know we were wise to him. He would have... Great Scott! Out of my way, Inspector!
Amazed, Inspector Henderson watches with mouth agape as Superman hurtles through the air and flashes down under the waters of the bay. What has happened? We'll return in a moment for the tense climax of today's episode. So stand by.
You know, gang, you're missing out on something the other kids are having a lot of fun with, unless you're collecting the swell prizes from packages of Kellogg's Pep. 3 different kinds of prizes, one in each package of Pep you open. Just think, your next Pep prize may be a bright-colored comic button picturing one of your favorite comic strip characters, 18 in all, to collect and to wear on your jacket or beanie cap. Or maybe you'll find a bird picture in brilliant color with a full description on the reverse side. Collect all 24 of them, and will you be a wise bird on birds? Or maybe your Pep prize will be one of the 7 exciting colored cardboard plane models, easy and fun to put together. Remember, there's one or the other of these 3 slick kinds of prizes in every package of Pep, the Sunshine cereal. And you know, all the while you're collecting them, you can be enjoying breakfast with those crunchy golden whole wheat flakes of Pep. A dish of Pep with cool milk and sugar. Is that a delicious treat? What flavor? A catchy, fresh flavor. A top-notch, so-good flavor. In short, a Pep flavor, meaning strictly terrific. So for an all-round prize dish and an all-round prize package, ask Mom today to get you a package of Kellogg's Pep first thing.
As Superman and Inspector Henderson left Paul Brower's marine filling station on the bay, the Man of Steel suddenly brushed Henderson aside and dove into the dark waters. Now, after only 2 or 3 seconds, he has flashed back to Henderson's side.
Okay, Inspector. Come on.
Come on, where? Say, why did you dive in the water?
I saw a private telephone in a cabinet in Brower's shop. The wire runs along the bottom of the bay.
What?
My hunch is it runs to the headquarters of the men who abducted Perry White and Mr. Grayson, and who want to sabotage the World Peace Federation.
Now, wait a
Brower
minute.
was obviously lying to us tonight. Right after we left, he went to the cabinet and picked up the private phone. I believe he's working for the gang, Inspector, and wanted to warn them about us. That's why I dove into the bay and snapped the wire.
Well, why didn't you tell me all this before? Come on, we'll go back and put the screws to Brower.
No. We'll just lose time trying to make him talk. I can follow that wire. All right, up under my arm, Inspector. I think this is going to be the showdown.
Well, here's hoping.
Yes, here's hoping we're not too late. Up, and away!
Leaping up from the edge of the bay with Inspector Henderson, Superman streaks out over the water, his keen eyes following the cable telephone wire along the bottom. Will it lead him to Rufus Pelly's island estate? And if it does, can he possibly save the lives of Perry White and John Grayson? For at this moment, the giant Hugo in Rufus Pelly's speedboat is heading far out to sea, towing the rowboat with his helpless captives. The rowboat, which is fitted with one of Pedley's deadly machines of war. What will happen as Pelly himself, the greedy man of mass murder through war, sits in his glass-walled study atop his house and leisurely sips coffee while looking out to sea, waiting for the explosion which will signal the end of White and Grayson. Tomorrow brings the smashing climax of our story, fellows and girls. So don't miss it. Tune in, same time, same station.
And remember, for breakfast, it's Kellogg's Pep.
For excitement, the adventures of Superman.
Superman is a copyrighted feature appearing in Superman DC comic magazines and is brought to you Monday through Friday at this same time by Kellogg's Pep, the Sunshine cereal. Say, gang, you think of famous names. Do you think of Kellogg? You know, that's the greatest name in cereals. And Kellogg makes Kellogg shredded wheat, the tender plump biscuits, just the right size to fit in your breakfast bowl. And are they good? Full to the brim with natural nut-sweet flavor. Good for you, too. They're made of nutritious whole wheat. What's more, Kellogg gives you 15 delicious biscuits every package of Kellogg shredded wheat. Try them soon. And be sure to be with us tomorrow for the thrilling adventures of Superman. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.